sure I did. We'll call to order the special meeting of the Grand Forks School Board for Monday, January 12th, 2026. First item on our agenda is the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to stand as you're able. Just one more item before we move on to 1A. Board Member Larson is on his way, but he will be a bit late this evening. The reading of our school board meeting norms. Dr. Hodak.
Yes. Number 1, be prepared. 2, be on time. 3, value and respect each other. 4, exercise thoughtful deliberation and conversation. 5, be professional at the board table and when visiting with the general public. 6, speak up when the norms are not being followed. And 7, advocate on behalf of students and keep the community in mind.
Thank you. Item 2, our budget realignment discussion, criteria, conditions, and ongoing deliberations. Dr. Brenner, do you want to start with your opening memo? I've got a few thoughts then before the broad conversation, but please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm going to just read the memorandum word for word because we're being recorded and I want to have a public record of this as well. This memorandum formally outlines the criteria, conditions, and process guiding the district's ongoing budget realignment work, as well as to provide clarity for both school board members and the public regarding the extensive engagement and transparency that has occurred to date. The origin of the budget realignment framework. The budget realignment process formally began with the school board retreat on August 14, 2025, during which the board collectively identified 12 broad concepts or umbrella headers, using a forced choice exercise intended to frame and organize potential areas for fiscal realignment. These headers were not decisions, but rather guiding lenses through which ideas, recommendations, and ramifications could be examined thoughtfully and consistently with the following impacts in mind: student impact, operational impact, financial impact, and community impact. The engagement and process to date. Since the initial retreat, the district has engaged in deliberate, inclusive, and multi-layered processes, which has included 4 school board retreats involving school board members, principals, directors, district leadership, and GFEA representation, each designed to deepen understanding, surface questions, and refine thinking. There was a forced choice activity between and among school board members and administrators that illustrated shared and departing perspectives. Multiple pre through K through 12 joint administrative meetings ensuring representation and perspective from across grade spans. Assistant Superintendent Bakke and Associate Superintendent Dr. Galach held ongoing meetings with elementary, middle, and high school principals and applicable directors to understand site-level realities and impacts. During the 2024-25 school year, Dr. Brenner facilitated a secondary music self-study committee, which included music teachers and principals representing middle and high school levels. Following several meetings, the committee reached consensus on a music delivery model at the high school level. Full implementation of the new model will be in the fall of 2026, although some teachers have already implemented the new model, complete with the use of newly developed software for scheduling purposes. This year, I met with secondary middle level self-study committee members examining alternative delivery models for music education at the middle level and commissioned that group to work through an updated delivery model that would gain efficiencies. I, along with business manager Brandon Bombach, held 2 meetings with GFEA leadership and GFEA building representatives to discuss the process and to provide clarifying information. A district-wide survey distributed to approximately 1,700 employees, inviting input and ideas that had an approximate 11% response rate. Numerous executive cabinet and administrative cabinet meetings were scheduled to vet concepts, explore feasibility, and assess alignment. Public report outs at subsequent school board meetings following each retreat, ensuring full transparency and consistent communication with our community. This process reflects our shared commitment to informed governance, professional engagement, and public trust. Concepts tonight are for consideration, not action. At tonight's meeting, you will hear approximately 52 concepts presented for consideration, concepts that have been agreed upon and recommended by elementary, middle, and high school principals, directors, and district leadership. These concepts are aligned under the previously identified 10 out of the 12 umbrella headers. They represent ideas and areas for exploration at this time, and they address and align with student, operational, financial, and community impact. And again, they do not require board action this evening. These same concepts will be brought forward again at the January 16th school board retreat for continued discussion, clarification, and deeper analysis. Further, the school board will meet on January 20th and again on February 9th, 2026 to bring this process to a conclusion. This intentional pacing is designed to allow time for reflection, questions, and additional refinement. Under the header Administrative Representation and Clarity, to support transparency and understanding, members of our administrative team will serve as spokespeople regarding the concepts. They will be available to provide clarification as needed for the school board members and/or for the public should questions arise regarding intent, context, or potential implications. And I will review those concepts shortly. The closing comment, the budget realignment process is by necessity complex and challenging. Our collective goal remains to approach this work with thoughtfulness, clarity, and respect for the people and programs that define our school district, while remaining fiscally responsible and aligned with board-established priorities. Thank you for your continued engagement, professionalism, and willingness to participate in this process that prioritizes transparency and a shared understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get into these recommendations and concepts, I would just like to reiterate what I think are the key points for this evening. Tonight's special meeting is one more step in this ongoing process, and no action will be taken tonight. The intent of this meeting is for our administration to present detailed information about these various budget realignment concepts and to provide a comment period to hear concerns and perspectives from the public. School board members will have the opportunity to ask clarifying questions of building level administrators, directors, and administration during this meeting, although tonight is mainly for board members to receive all of this information, with the bulk of our discussion scheduled to take place at this Friday morning's board retreat, which is also open to the public. The school board will also take up this discussion at the regular meeting of the school board, as you heard, next Tuesday, January 20th, before bringing this process to a conclusion at our regular meeting on Monday, February 9th. I'll have more to say about the comment period when we get there, but for now, let's head into the recommendations.
And I'm going to tag team here a little bit with Business Manager Brandon Bombach. The next couple of slides are yours.
Thank you, President Berger. Dr. Brenner, I wanted to provide just some broad contextual comments related to this slide here. Mainly 3 points, describing briefly about the revenues of a school district. 2, to the question of how did we get here in the first place. And then 3, just some notes of distinction from how funds work within a school district. So number 1, revenues are controlled outside of the school district, outside of the school board. They primarily come to us from 3 different venues: federal, state, and local. And you can see the rounded percentages of where they do come from. When changes take place at any one of those levels, it greatly affects the direction of a school district. So with the federal level being 10%, there's a lot of changes at the federal level. We saw, for example, just this past year for this budget, an 8% reduction that was largely unannounced but showed up late in the game. The state meets on a every other year basis where they make decisions about not only school district budgets across the state, but a whole number of other things. And so we wait and receive 60% of our budget. That news comes from the state legislature for a biennium. And then locally, we have that ability to make decisions about levying local property taxes, where the state has recently taken some action that I point out here too to limit exactly the growth there. So the only point here is to demonstrate a school district does not control its own revenues. It really only has the most control over expenditures, which is the concept that led the conversation early on as a board. A term we've been using is forced choice exercise. When you don't have the opportunity to grow out of something or to increase revenues, then when you look at the expenditure side of the budget, you make a choice between more of this, which could lead to less of that. It's a forced choice. And it's through that context that the whole conversation has been started off and framed. So I make that point. We don't control our revenues. We're always looking on the expenditure side. How did we get here? First and foremost, I would say growing student need. It's been discussed too on last year's budget when we came expenditures over revenues. So in a bad, we had ended in red, was largely due to growing student need. So more positions were added and resources allocated. That really pushed that in that direction. On top of that, property tax revenues did slow. Their growth that we had experienced for some prior years had slowed down quite a bit. And then into this year's budget, like I mentioned, the state capping at a 3% growth rate stymied that, where in prior years we had gotten growth rates of 8%. Federal changes I mentioned, we saw a reduction there as well. But one of the biggest things is depending on when we come to school in the fall, how many school children come with us, the enrollment, we saw a decrease sharply. That was on the heels of a large increase in enrollment. What that did, though, was we had staffed up for the larger number, And then with contracted employees and contracts extended, by the time we had counted our students in the fall, enrollment decreased, and that's the state revenue associated with it decreased, where we had a number of positions already on contract. So it was that blend of things that really put us in the position that got talking about all of this realignment. Just some last and final notes I would like to make clear. There are other school districts who are in very similar boat. You could read about Fargo as probably the most close example. I know Minot has had similar conversations. Just means to, I think, articulates a broader landscape of changes taking place. Locally, though, we have constructed a new Valley Middle School. We have a new Twining School coming on board, and those are funds from a different bucket altogether. Those funds for the Valley Middle School is a part of the public referendum to build that building, and we legally can't move funds from that bucket of funds to the general fund. So operational costs are different. Same goes with Twining. Those are federal dollars that we cannot mix together with the operational bucket. And even on the fraud that the school district was a victim of last fall, that was a building fund. That's capital projects, and it can affect capital projects that were planned out within the district, but it does not affect the operating budget, which is what the conversation is about tonight. So I just want to make that clear. There's different buckets that legally do not mix. I'll just comment here. So the board, through its retreats, like I mentioned, had gone through a forced choice exercise. It was philosophically putting different concepts against one another and asking the question, would you rather, so to speak. And these 12 concepts were developed early on and may not be exhaustive, but it began a healthy conversation and facilitated the conversation about board priorities, reflective of community priorities, of a would you rather. So early parts of the retreat were based around that. Tonight are the first times we really start to get into very specific concepts that'll be further discussed even on Friday at this board retreat. But I wanted to bridge where we have been to where we're going now. These concepts put out in tonight's agenda and discussed have been associated with one of these 12 buckets, and you can see where they lay. The difference here too is that in the forced choice exercise, they were phrased in such a way to force a decision. So you can see a couple of examples of close or combine buildings. That was deliberately phrased that way, although quickly in conversation, I think if you were at the retreats, you'd realize it was never really a conceivable conversation to close a building, but it was meant to, again, force a philosophical decision to have board members and others weigh in and say, would you rather? In the end, you can see no concepts tonight are associated with a closing or combining of building. Similarly, you can see revenues at the bottom. There are some small opportunities to increase revenues for a school district, not to the order of balancing a budget of $130 million, but you can see there were certainly concepts investigated to increase revenues where possible. Those didn't fall into those original 12 buckets, but eventually were wanted to be stated as separate. So you see them at the bottom of this table. One example that's on that list is if you were to charge for general education busing like we had done in the past. Just another example of the forced choice, you see decreased busing. Again, through the board retreats, it was meant to force a decision of would you rather, and ultimately through conversation, it was not a viable concept to decrease busing, but rather investigate the increased revenue component associated with that. But here is a summary of the 52 concepts that roll up into the associated buckets. It's not perfect fit, but if you were to bridge where we have come from as a board and conversation to where we are going, this would be the slide to do so.
And now I will take you through those 52 concepts, starting working from the left to the right. And you will see, and maybe you can't see all the way to the left. So I will tell you which conceptual buckets these come from. The first several are coming from the Mark Sanford Education Support Services, and eliminate AwardCo subscription. That has to do with our staff recognition program. That would be a financial impact of $15,000. The next one is also attached to MSCC, eliminate paid employee assistance program at $30,450. The program is relatively underutilized, and we do have a free program for our staff. The next one falls under MSCC as well. Eliminate the RSP demographer, Rob Schwartz, at $29,000 a year, and we would just simply not use a vendor for demographics. And I should note that that would be operational, and the first two were financial. The next one, eliminate Sprout social subscription at $2,400. We will manage that internally without an outside vendor, and that is operational. The next one continues to be under MSCC, lower communications budget at $5,000. That's a budget reduction, that's operational. The next one, eliminate business office position, $65,000, that's one FTE. This was a position that was added in recent years. That would be operational. Also under MSCC, eliminate an HR position at $54,000. That's one FTE. That position was added in recent years, and that would be operational. Also at MSCC, reduce overtime at $65,000 a year. Enhanced oversight and tighter restrictions, so that doesn't continue to occur. That is operational. The next one is eliminate the Greater Grand Forks Young Professionals Corporate Sponsorship at $2,500. That's an underutilized membership. Most of their meetings happen over the noon hour when all of our folks are working. That's operational. Another one at MSCC, reduce the IT manager position by 20%. That's a $14,000 savings. The rationale is continue managerial strategic duties and assist with technical support, and that also is operational. Aligned with that, at MSCC under technology, reduce the technology administrative assistant by 25%, and that would be an $18,000 savings. That would align with seasonal workflow and the reduced IT manager availability. The next one is eliminate custodial supervisor here at MSCC. That's $72,800. That's one FTE. The position was added in recent years, although the position long ago when I first came into the district, there was a position, and then there was about 25 years or more when we didn't have it. The next one, eliminate the recruitment advertising at $23,310. That's a budget reduction. Fewer positions would be posted. That would be operational. The next one, eliminate the transportation coordinator position at $85,650. That's one FTE. That position was added in recent years to help with our transportation workflow, even though we have that contracted with an outside agency. The next one, reduce the IT application specialist from full to half-time. It's a position that was added in recent years. Presently, it is unfilled. And the final one at MSCC Support Services would be eliminate enrichment. That's two positions at $200,000 a year, low percentage of students who are served, and the impact is student. The next cluster is smaller. Certified support staff, eliminate multi-tiered support system coordinator at the secondary level. That's at $117,631. That's one FTE. The support position providing comprehensive building support, yet not directly instructing students. That position was really, did a lot with our Cognia process and our school improvement process. Also reduce ML, multilingual teachers, at 2.5. That's $218,500, and that would be adjusting the ML staffing to ensure equitable caseloads and align with highest needs areas. And the impact would be student. And the final one in that bucket, reduction in instructional coaching staff at 0.5. That's a $50,500 saving. Does not impact direct student services, but the impact would be under the student header. Next one, we have two clustered in class sizes, reduction in class sections across elementary schools, a savings of $255,000. That would be 3 FTEs, and that would create equitable, consistent class sectioning district-wide. And there would be a plan in place to help with students who are new to the district, who might live in a certain neighborhood, but let's just say, for example, that 4th grade already has 24 students, but another 4th grade at another building only has 17. We would work with that family to go to the school where there's more room. And we're calling that leveling. The next one, reduce middle school music teachers by 2.5 positions at a cost of $212,500, and that would be to maximize staffing efficiencies, aligning with a district model being put into place at the secondary level, at the high school level, excuse me. The next grouping all falls under classified support staff. The first one, reallocate Native American liaison position. That's really reallocating funds. It has nothing to do with the position itself. That would be a $20,000 savings to the general fund, and we would fully fund that position with grant dollars. Reduce custodial staff across the district by 9. That would be a $320,000 savings, and the budget reduction and operational adjustments would be operational. The next one for classified support staff, reduce school nurses by 1. That would be an $85,000 savings, and that would adjust the current supports across buildings. That would be operational. The next one, reduce classroom specialists at $75,000. That would be 7.5 positions, and we'd return to more reliance on daily substitutes rather than the classroom specialist. And in case you're wondering a little detail around that, it would be for one classroom specialist reduction, that would be a savings of approximately $10,000, because we would know a substitute would be coming in, or we'd be paying somebody their hourly rate to cover for a teacher who might be absent. Under classified support staff, continuing, reduce a 504 para. That's one position at $53,900, and the student who has been working with this person will be served through other staff, and that is operational. Reduce a security position at $50,000. This is unique to Valley Middle School. That's one FTE. That's not the safety, that's not the SRO. It was an additional person assigned to that building. Reduce ML paras, a total of 8 FTEs at $350,900, and we would have a change in the current ratio, and the impact would be students. The next bucket falls under co- and extracurricular activities. Eliminate CODA. If you're not familiar with that term, that would be the after-hours music programs at the elementary level that teachers are paid for. I would say music teachers are paid for. That would be a savings of $48,000, and the programs would now be embedded during the school day, and there would not be an evening opportunity for parents, and the impact would be community. We would add increase facility rental for building use, at $4,000. We would simply increase rental rates to keep up with our costs, and that's a financial impact. The next one, further utilize Grand Forks Public Schools bus to reduce outside vendor expenses, and that would be at $47,018 savings. That would be an efficiency opportunity, and the impact is operational. The next one, drama, music, supply reduction, $4,806, and that would be simply a supply budget reduction, and that would be operational. The next one, the next two under co- and extracurriculars, drama music fee increase. The estimated amount would be $5,704, and you can see that is a financial impact. And the final one is eliminate elementary intramurals at $40,000, and the rationale would be availability of community offerings, and that would be a student impact. We'd be working with other community partners to run those programs, similar to what we have in place with a couple of other programs at the elementary level. The next three have to do with curriculum adoptions. The first one, curriculum adjustments. $62,500 would be a savings from switching from Really Great Reading to UFly curriculum adoption. And from what I understand, there wouldn't be a loss in fidelity with the use of this new curriculum platform. The next one, curriculum adjustments, $233,000, $161. That would be to delay the math curriculum adoption. And the final one under curriculum adoptions is reduce ELBA funding, at $18,680, and we would use alternative funding sources for that, and that would be a financial impact. Under diversity of course offerings, eliminate interventions and classroom teacher. That would be two FTEs at $195,401. Under the rationale, North Dakota Studies will need to be taught by another teacher. It's a required course. Discontinue reading and math interventions would thus happen, and that would be a student impact. Also under diversity of course offerings, require in-building, face-to-face attendance for North Dakota Center for Distance Education courses. Would likely reduce enrollment. The estimated savings would be $112,000, and we would have improved student engagement and outcomes in addition to achieving financial savings. That would be a financial impact. The next one under diversity of course offerings, start orchestra in grade 5 rather than grade 4. That would be a savings of $183,500. That would be a 2.0 FTE. And again, the course orchestra would be offered in 5th grade along with band. Also with the diversity of course offerings, reduce graduation credit rate, and that would be a savings of $306,500, 3.50 FTEs, and that would maximize staffing efficiencies. And we'd be looking at the content areas of physical education and speech. The next one is eliminate elective classes with historically low enrollment. Historically with low enrollment. $306,500 savings, 3.5 FTEs. We would maximize staffing efficiencies. Also under diversity of course offerings, reduce a section for at-risk students at the high school level. That would be a $95,000 savings. That would be 1 FTE. And again, we would maximize staffing efficiencies. It would be a financial impact. And the final one under diversity of course offerings, eliminate the virtual high school. That would be a $70,000 savings, a 0.5 FTE position. It was a recently established program this academic school year. Thank you for hanging in there with me. We're getting down to the final few. Under educational technology tools, reduce the technical debt and establish sustainability. That'd be a $210,000 savings. And the cost to maintain a one-to-one environment in K-8 is $420,000 per year in hardware alone. Reduce professional support, i.e. tech partners, doesn't support or expand usage to justify the hardware cost. That would be a financial impact. The next one is educational technology tools as well. Eliminate PowerSchool add-on products, be a savings of $60,000. Functionality will be provided as part of Infinite Campus, which launches July 1 this coming summer. That would be operational. We would eliminate a Zoom license at $3,500. Google Meet now has all of the features of Zoom. And the final one under educational technology tools, reduce Panorama data warehouse features. It's a $7,500 savings. The variability of use, some items could potentially be housed in Infinite Campus, and that would be under an operational impact. And our final 4 happen to be revenue generators. Implement a 3-tiered system of activity fees. That would increase that bucket by $42,941. Some sports require more resources than others, and the fee structure should reflect that. The next one is Medicaid billing, MAC. This is something relatively new to the school district over the last couple of years, but it is a revenue generator. We are anticipating being able to generate $250,000 in revenue, and that's simply captured through expanded Medicaid. That is financial. Charge for busing, which is something we used to do before COVID. That would be a $100,000 increase to our revenue stream, and the cost of providing transportation simply continues to increase. That would be financial, and I should say that's for general ed busing, not for special ed busing. And the final one in revenue is increased spa fees at $49,495, and that would simply be an updated revenue stream, and that would have a financial impact. And that takes us through all 52 concepts, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Bombach, could you be clear so we know what was up on the screen in those slides? The addition of the 48 budget reduction concepts as well as the 4 revenue concepts, what's that total number? What was the goal? Just a sense of where we're looking at in dollars and cents.
Sure, President Berger, happy to answer the question. So the goal that was set out was a minimum of $4.4 million based on where this budget is projected to end up. There are more variables as you enter next year, but 4.4 was articulated. Some of the other variables that include is, again, uncertainty at the federal level, et cetera. So the administrative team did work to provide a larger number than 4.4 and ultimately totaled a reduction of $4.54 million on the expenditure side. When you add in the additional revenues of $442,000 is where you get to the bottom line number of just under $5 million.
Thank you. Board members, I'm not certain how you wish to proceed with this discussion. If you would like to hear from building level admin at various levels, directors, district leadership, or if you want to direct specific questions, if you want to have some conversation here. Of course, we also have the public comment period as a part of tonight's special meeting. There'll be an opportunity for clarification during that set as well. But I want to make sure that this time serves our purpose in moving this conversation forward. So do any of you specifically want to weigh in about how you want to take this discussion next? Dr. Lund?
I'd like to hear from the public.
Okay, do any other board members agree generally with that sentiment of moving into the public comment period, knowing that we'll provide some structure for that? I'll get to some more of those thoughts in a moment, some opportunity for a bit more clarity and sharing and perhaps some additional information that may be helpful at that point. But is there anything board members would need? I'll ask it this way. Is there anything that board members would need in this conversation before we enter into the public comment period? So that may be more helpful. Yes, Dr. Hodak?
When the public speaks, will we as board members be able to ask them questions as well?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dr. Hodak. The way I intend to facilitate the public comment period is to, in a sense, group public comment by topic. So if we've got 7 people who want to talk about the virtual high school, 3 people who wish to talk about CODA, et cetera, we'll try to put those together. And then before any board discussion, we'll ask those staff members at the district level, building level, if they have anything to add, clarify, that's not quite right, et cetera. And so we'll take it by topic rather than trying to move our heads around, just in the way they've turned in. We'll get to all of them, but I think that serves the conversation better, at least at my perspective, if we unpack one concept, take it through conversation and discussion, and then move on. Does that help? Anything else, board members? Dr. Lund?
Just one clarification. I have a 99-year-old mother-in-law. I'm moving into assisted living. So if you see me texting here, it's got nothing to do with this. I'm coordinating 5 different things at one time. So just so you know. Understood.
And well wishes to you and to her. Anything else from board members? Okay. We're about to enter into our public comment period. The purpose of the open meetings law and North Dakota Century Code is to provide members of the public with access to the meetings of a governing board of a public entity, allowing them to observe, monitor, and participate. By state law, every regular meeting of the board must include an opportunity for an individual to provide public comment. As board leadership, we have also elected to hold a public comment period during this special meeting of the school board. The law requires that an individual providing comment at a meeting provide to the governing body in writing their name and address, which you all have done here. Public comments must be pertinent to the district and may not interfere with the orderly conduct of the meeting, may not be defamatory, abusive, harassing, or unlawful, may not include confidential or exempt information, and may not be directed at personnel or discuss personnel matters. At this time, I believe I have 18 public comment cards filled out and turned in, which I believe to be a manageable number for our time this evening. Each individual is allotted up to 3 minutes to speak. At tonight's special meeting, we will also allow space for building level administrators, directors, and/or district leadership to provide additional information or clarity if applicable. I said earlier that I'll take the liberty of grouping these comments into themes so that we can gather information and feedback about each concept one at a time. Recognizing that we may have folks out in the hallway or in the overflow room, I'll also try to indicate we're inviting to the podium this person, such and such a name, you're on deck, such and such a person, you'll be after that, etc. I also want to remind you before we enter into this that we have a couple of other mechanisms as well. You can always submit your comments to the board via email, and yes, we do read them. Finally, remember, and this is for everyone listening, whether you're present here tonight or not, we invite you to continue to be involved in this process through our district website. The specific information about this budget realignment process can be found at gfschools.org. I believe last time I looked, the budget realignment process tab is the 4th of the main header tabs. So we'll go ahead and just quickly sort through. It looks to me that we have a few that are, at least we'll get through these first 3 as I'm sorting through the rest, and my apologies for doing these 2 things at once. Michelle Kremers, speaking on the physical education credit reduction. I believe Mark Variano, high school requirements, you'll be next. I think that's similar. Jeff Bakke, proposed budget cuts to physical education. So Michelle, Mark, and Jeff, will have you go, and if we find others related to this, maybe Bill Lorenz, the same, Andrea Charlebois, and we'll see Stetson Carr. So we've got a few of you here. We'll go in that order. If there are others, I'll find them in the packet as well. Michelle Kremers. Yeah, we'll ask all speakers to use the microphone, and it's not just for the folks in this room, but it is being recorded and broadcast as well as archived, so it helps everyone to know that everything is recorded. So thank you for that.
Good evening, school board members, and President Berger, thank you for letting us speak this evening. My name is Michelle Kremers. I teach at Red River High School, physical education and health. I am here tonight to speak to the possible half credit reduction in physical education. Is it in the best interest of students' physical, mental, and academic health to sit for 50 minutes a day for 7 semesters and receive structured movement for only 1 semester of high school? High school physical education is not just about athletics. It is about public health, academic readiness, and long-term care cost prevention. If we do not teach students how to move their bodies and fuel themselves before graduation, most will never learn it later. The result is declining physical health, rising mental health concerns, increased injury, and higher long-term health care costs, outcomes that schools are uniquely positioned to prevent. In 2008, this district received a $1.6 million Carolyn M. White PEP grant because it recognized the importance of fitness, choice, and student engagement. We built facilities, redesigned our curriculum, and expanded access. Cutting PE staffing now undercuts that investment and leaves those resources underused. The district has already spent the money. The infrastructure exists. Reducing staff makes that investment inefficient. Reducing physical education to a half credit means fewer course options, with the possible consequence of less student buy-in. Larger class sizes reduces safety, individualized instruction, and elimination of adaptive and non-competitive movement options for our students. For many students, especially those who are not athletes, physical education is their only consistent physical activity. Movement is medicine. Movement is one of the most effective evidence-based supports for mental health. And physical education is where it happens consistency and equitably. Outside of school, and allow students have access to gyms, sports, or safe spaces to move. Physical education is the equalizer. High school is the last guaranteed point of access to physical activity education for all students. We understand the district is facing a $4.4 million deficit, but cutting physical education staffing is a short-term savings with long-term unintended consequences for student health, engagement, and school climate. The question before the board is not whether physical education can be reduced, but whether it should be. If we graduate students who can analyze literature, solve equations, but cannot care for their own well-being, we have missed a critical component of education. Physical literacy is not optional, it is foundational. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Mark Veriano, and a reminder after that, Jeff Bakke. Just so that you're aware, Bill Lorenz. So Mark, Jeff, and Bill.
Hello, school board. My name is Mark Veriano. I've been teaching at Red River High School for 24 years. Thank you for having me tonight, and I appreciate you guys that have read my email I sent before. I appreciate the comments I received back from several of you, so thank you very much. Michelle covered quite a bit there, so I'm not sure they'll be rehash things that we've already talked about. But, I think Grand Forks values things, and I think this all comes down to value. Obviously, we value movement, we value fitness, we have choice, and now we are building an aquatic center out on 42nd. So obviously, we value movement and things of that nature, and those are things you have to pay for. While the kids at school here wouldn't have to pay for any of that stuff because they're going to get it right in class. Like Michelle said, there's a possibility of an incoming freshman taking Phi-Ed that first semester and never doing anything else again for the next 7 out of the 8 that they may have. So I can't see any health professionals that would agree and say that less is more. Okay, where we're at right now, we still want to be more. There's larger districts around North Dakota that have many more requirements than we do, and we don't want to fall behind them. If we're going to be a beacon, let's be a beacon in everything. And I hope at one point in time that we, make the right decision and keep what we have so far. Because once you go backwards, it's been in my experience, we never go back. We never go back to when we started. So if we can keep that one requirement and not lose another one, that would be fantastic. We appreciate that greatly. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next we have Jeff Bakke, followed by Bill Lorenz, and Andrea Charleboy would be after that. Jeff?
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just want to stress that I acknowledge what a difficult position you're in with this process. So for my position as a physical education teacher, I want to focus on not just the physical or the mental health benefits. Others will or have addressed that already, but I also want to talk about how this decision affects our district standing, our leadership role, and our public perception. Grand Forks is the 4th largest district in North Dakota, and we are home to the state's largest university. That places us in a unique position. Other districts look to us as a model, and future educators observe how we operate, and families compare us to private, alternative, and neighboring districts when deciding where to send their children. 2 years ago, this board reduced PE requirements to 1 credit, and now we are considering reducing them again to a half credit, which would mean a student needs only 1 semester of PE across 4 years of high school. If this change passes, we will fall below many comparable districts and further away from national expectations. More importantly, it sends a message that when faced with challenges, our solution is to scale back core educational programming rather than protect it. This also affects competitiveness. We are competing with private and alternative schools for enrollment. Parents look at graduation requirements and course offerings, and when public schools require less, not more, it weakens our case and our credibility. There's another group watching us closely today, and that's future educators. As a university town, our decisions also shape how future educators and coaches view this profession. Reducing requirements and eliminating positions sends the message that this field is unstable and undervalued, making recruitment harder in the long run. Graduation requirements are not just about credits, they reflect our priorities, and as a large, visible district, we should be setting the standard, not lowering it. I urge the board to maintain our current PE requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Bill Lorenz, followed by Andrea, and I believe I had Stetson Carr also. Bill?
Good evening, board members, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of you all tonight. My name's Bill Lorenz. I teach physical education over at Grand Forks Central. It's my 24th year at Central and 31st year overall in education. I'm here to speak about the possibility of reducing the number of PE credits needed for graduation and the possible reduction of staffing due to this and the negative impact it will have on our students. Our physical education department takes pride in offering a number of different courses for our students to appeal to everyone. Not all students want the competitive nature of a sports and games class or a team sports class. Some have interests in other components of fitness such as flexibility, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and body composition. These are all important components of a healthy living style. We offer courses that focus on all these. For example, we offer breathe and stretch. We offer personal wellness, strength and conditioning, advanced strength and conditioning, and dance. We pride ourselves in offering a variety of classes to try to meet the varying needs of all of our students. By reducing the required credit for graduation and/or staff, we fear that we will no longer be able to offer this variety of classes. We believe that this will result in students being forced into courses that they're not interested in. This will increase class sizes, present participation and behavior problems, further stressing the staff. The physical education classes that we offer provide structured instruction in teamwork, resiliency, goal setting, leadership, conflict resolution, and personal fitness literacy. All these things are taking place in a safe, supportive, structured environment. Why does this matter? Colleges and employers increasingly want students with strong social emotional skills. Physical education is one of the few classes that develops them through experience, not theory. Physical education ensures equal access to health and fitness opportunities. Students from lower income families are less likely to have access to safe recreational spaces outside of school. Cutting physical education disproportionately will harm the district's most vulnerable students. As educators, we strive to get the best out of our students. We want them to be the best version of themselves and do more than the bare minimum to get by. By reducing the number of PE credits for graduation, we are lowering our standards to the minimum credits required by the state. My question to the board administration tonight is, do we want to do the bare minimum just to get by, or do we want to strive to be better? Let's strive to be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Andrea Charleboy, followed by Stetson Carr.
Good evening, President Berger and members of our school board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and your continued service to our students and our community. My name is Andrea Charleboy. I've proudly served Grand Forks Public Schools for 27 years, including 24 at Grand Forks High School. I'm here to speak about something that goes to the heart of what we value in education and how we prepare our students for life after graduation. Graduation requirements reflect what we value. Physical education is not optional to student success. It is essential. We are living in a national health crisis. In 2022, the United States spent $4.5 trillion on healthcare, much of it to treat chronic physical and mental health conditions tied to inactivity. Today, over 40% of U.S. adults and more than 20% of youth are obese, and over 1.4 million people die each year from heart disease and cancer. By 2050, heart disease alone is projected to cost more than $2 trillion annually. These numbers affect not just individual health, but our workforce, our economy, and our communities. Healthy people are essential to a healthy society, as physical education is one of the most direct and effective ways that we can help build a healthy society. Schools are uniquely positioned to be part of the solution. Health experts recommend that young people get at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise every day. And for that, many students, physical education is the only consistent place that happens. But physical education is not just about physical health. It directly supports our learning. Research shows that regular physical activity improves memory, problem solving, and executive function, which are critical for success in math, reading, and complex thinking. Students who move regularly have better attention, stronger focus, and greater classroom engagement. Physical activity is also one of the most effective ways to reduce anxiety, depression, and stress, all of which have risen sharply among today's youth. High school is a pivotal time. Academic pressure is increasing, screen time is rising, and physical activity is declining. When we reduce physical education requirements or staffing, we are not saving money. We are shifting the cost of future health care. Employers and family will take up that cost. We are telling students that their health and ability to learn are less important than other priorities. Our schools are responsible for educating the whole child, mind, body, and character. Physical education is a critical part of that mission. Our students deserve a system that prepares them not just to graduate, but to live long, healthy, and productive lives. I respectfully urge the board to keep physical education credit at 1 full credit as part of our graduation requirements and continue standing for a strong, well-rounded education for every student in Grand Forks Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Stetson Carr.
Good evening, school board members and President Berger. My name is Stetson Carr. I've had the privilege of teaching the past 7 years at Grand Forks Central High School. 2 years ago, our district reduced our physical education credit, as you've heard, by half a credit. And eliminated 1 teaching position at each high school. Now, that was disappointing, but while the reduction of staff was disappointing, it was equally concerning what I felt was the rationale behind it. My primary concern is the decision-making process didn't clearly align with the student, staff, financial, and community impact. After seeking clarification on how these decisions were made, I failed to really understand the decision considering the criteria that was being used. This lack of transparency to me raised concerns about whether the decision was being driven by consistent, data-informed standards rather than short-term pressures. Decisions of this magnitude should not be made based on how many people come to the microphone and the emotion they carry. Physical education is unique in that it directly impacts every student. Few other reductions, if any, at the high school level have such a universal reach. Given the well-documented and far-reach benefits of PE for student learning, mental health, and long-term wellness, this is an area we should be strengthening, not reducing. Board members received an email last week containing comparative data, some of which were referenced tonight. Thank you for those of you who responded. That information shows that the further reductions our district would rank us among the lowest in PE credits and overall staffing across the state compared to similar districts such as Fargo, West Fargo, Bismarck, and Mandan. Some of those data points were West Fargo at 1.5 required credits with 5 teachers, Bismarck with 2 required credits with teachers staffing at 8, 7, and 6 between the 3 of them, and Mandan at 2 required credits as well. But that should not be our standard. We should be striving to be the best. It's troubling that a research-supported program with clear benefits to students and broader community continues to be diminished. These decisions should reflect student and community needs, not serve as a means to relieve pressure in other areas. I respectfully ask that future decisions be made transparently and grounded in clear criteria and guided by the best interests of students and the educators who serve them. I urge the board to prioritize enhancing our students' health and well-being rather than reducing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Unless I have missed something in these comment cards, I believe those were the cards filled out to discuss this particular topic. So is there a member of the public who has filled out a comment card who wished to speak on this budget concept before we ask for further clarification and information? Fairly certain we got through those. So I would open it up next to district leadership, perhaps building level administrators who would be most impacted by this particular concept. If there's any further information to share, anything that you could add clarity to, anything that went into the decision to have this on the list. And maybe before I go any further, hopefully you've all heard this by now, those of you here and those of you listening. No one at any level in any of these conversations wants to do any of this. This was a matter of, we had greens and yellows and reds, and we collectively tried to lift up what could get us to this mark. So these are not easy conversations. But again, is there anyone here who has anything else to share from an information standpoint among district staff before we open it up to board members? Dr. Glatch?
Yeah, just to make sure that our viewing public is clear, the recommendation is to reduce graduation required credits from 24. The state requires 22 credits for graduation, and we would still, by going to 23, make sure that all of the state requirements were captured or encapsulated in that reduction. Students still would have the opportunity to elect into courses such as physical education. It just wouldn't be required beyond that half credit that's been mentioned.
Thank you for that. Any other information to lift up regarding this particular budget realignment concept? Questions from board members related to this concept on your list? Mr. Clevin?
Is there a sense of how many students do elect take a PE credit on their own and not mandatory? Like, do we have any sense of that?
Would anyone have that data?
We could
Dr.
pull that
Blatch?
data for the board retreat.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Clevin. Other board member questions, clarifications? Ms. Flynn?
I have a couple questions. There was mention of a grant in 2008. Has there been any other work recently to secure a grant of that size or any other funding to help support physical education programs?
Does anyone have that? Mr. Bombach?
I would just, President Berger, Member Flynn, I would just comment that there hasn't been a grant to that magnitude received. I can't comment on the work done.
Can you say that again?
Sorry about that. I would just say that there hasn't been a grant to that magnitude received. I can't comment on any work that's been done to pursue that PEP grant any further.
Does anyone else have that information? Dr. Glatt?
The only other significant grant of which I'm aware occurred through the base, Project FIT, if that rings a bell. So that was specific to the base through DODEA dollars.
Thank
you. And you had another question, Ms. Flynn?
Yeah, there was mention of elective credits that students can take. Would an additional course of physical education be an elective credit? And then what additional elective physical education credits exist? Like, I'm assuming weightlifting, some others, there's strength and conditioning, but what is the portfolio under?
Yes, I'm going to answer this more broadly, and I'd ask the principals or even the physical education teachers to correct me. So anytime students are registering for classes, we have our entire course catalog that was shared with the board, I believe, in the October retreat. There are hundreds of classes listed there, and the principals make decisions according to, if you want to call it, popularity of enrollment. And so I don't imagine the menu would decline. However, the number of sections that would be offered in the end would have to skinny up according to staffing, if that makes sense. So that the menu that was described, that the physical education department has worked hard at adding that variety to make sure that something appeals to all students, would still be offered, but the actual courses that would be delivered in the end would depend on enrollment. I anticipate there would be a strategy that could be employed that would have like a rotation as well. So students who might want a certain class because it appeals more to their interest level could maybe wait and take it a different year of their high school career. A lot of Class B schools kind of facilitate that way to make sure that there's a broad array of appeal to our students.
Did that get to where you wanted to go, Ms. Flynn? Do you want to ask it a different way? Or
My question then would be, so let's say there's less of a requirement, but let's say that same number of students opts into elective credits. How would that be a reduction in staffing then? Or would we just assume that we don't have the capacity and the class sizes would be capped?
It would most likely, and again, I'm looking to my high school people to correct this, tie into the recommendation for reduction in staffing through low enrollment courses. So if all of the FIAD offerings capped out, I believe we would still be driven by student interest. That's what we desire to do as a system, is to be largely driven by student interest. So that would mean that students would not be electing into different courses, and that's where the efficiencies would be gained.
I don't know if you saw this, Ms. Flynn, but we have a couple high school building level principals nodding behind you. I don't know if you want to.
I don't have eyes in the back of
Okay.
my head, actually.
Do either of you want to speak to this conversation while we're putting you on the spot?
We would do it just like we do all other classes. We would have to cap
numbers, right? You know, you can only have, if we have 4 teachers, 3 teachers, they can only have so many kids in their class. We'd have to cap. Some kids, as Dr. Glatt said, may have to take it the following year. We have that in medical careers all the time. You know, there's slots for 80 kids and we have 110 register. And so we just base it usually on grade level or schedules, whatever works. So it's not uncommon where some classes we have more than we can handle and it's rotated. For example, medical careers, intern med careers, if a sophomore registers for it, they have to wait till they're a junior to take it. So we prioritize grade level. Same thing with autos. We usually have too many kids register for autos 1 and they just have to wait till their junior year to take it. So if we ended up in that position, we would just have to have a waiting list for class and work around the numbers that way. That answers your question.
Thank you. Any other board members have questions about this concept that's on the list for discussion?
I had one last
Yes, Ms.
question.
Flynn, no worries.
Our, one of the strategic plan headers is behavioral health and wellness. I'm curious if we have any data from the last reduction cycle when it went from 2 to 1.5, is that right? Required phys ed? I'm wondering if we have any data related to some of the youth behavioral assessment survey or like Panorama that could be assumed that there's a causation of maybe less required offerings for phys ed as it relates to behavioral health and wellness.
Does anyone have that
I'm sure
data?
I'm sure not, but a question to.
Sure, question to ponder and perhaps, yes, Dr. Lund?
Just a correction, I think it went from 1.5 to 1.
Okay.
And I suspect it might be difficult with all the variables to figure out
Sure.
if it had anything to do with that or not, just because of all the other variables, including COVID.
Agreed. And then the other half credit is health that's required.
So
We
there-
can still look for the data, but I agree with Dr. Line. I think it would be challenging to tease that apart.
And health is not is pros for reduction, it's just the phys ed requirement.
Anything else to lift up for clarity's sake or information's sake on this concept before we move on? But before we go much further, I hope this feels like the right approach and the right process to take a topic, open it up, give it its due weight, and move on. Please speak up if there's an exception to the way we're currently handling this. Again, we are going to get to all of these comments. I just think we're better served to lump them together. To that end, I have 3 that are, I would say, just not pinpoint specific. So I'm going to take these 3. I don't know where you're going to land with your comments, but I want to get to them here rather than at the end because they might pertain to another topic. So generally speaking, these comments are about the proposed budget adjustments, budget cuts, budget saving measures. So we'll take Tyler York and then Miley, I believe it's Pacino, I'm sorry, and Bricker McGillicuddy in that order. Tyler, Miley, Bricker. We'd like to invite Tyler first to the podium. I recognize some of you may be listening from a different room, but Miley and Bricker, if you want to be ready for us. Those 3, I don't quite know yet exactly where we're landing, but we'll take them at this time.
Yes. Sorry, let me get my notes up here. Thank you, President Berger and Dr. Brenner and board members. I do apologize. I probably should have been a little more specific about what I wanted to talk about. But yes, my name is Tyler York. I'm not a teacher or an employee of the school district, but I guess I'm just here as a concerned citizen. And before I go on, like President Berger said to don't be hesitant to email. 2 years ago, a similar thing came up with the board wanting information from the public, and he, among some other board members, were more than happy to engage with me, even though I'm not like a teacher or anything like that. So, with that being said, so this proposal wasn't made public too horribly long ago. Like I read about it on Thursday, so I didn't have like a large amount of time to go through it. But I guess for me, music education is a very high on my list of things I would like to see the school district, you know, how they wish to run things. And I guess I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who will be talking about the awesome music staff that we have and how important music is, and I'm not trying to belittle that. But I think more importantly, just to look at the hard, cold numbers. And when we get to, if you want to wait until you get to the music side to, you know, engage with this, I totally understand that. So on that spreadsheet that was made public, as Dr. Brenner kind of pointed out, there were 4.5 FTEs that are being cut from the elementary music and the middle school. In addition, from kind of like what I've heard, grumblings in the rumor mill, and if you would care to clarify, I would love to hear this. But in the section about the historically low attended classes, of the 3.5 FTEs that are going to be eliminated or readjusted, 2 of them are high school music FTEs. So that brings the grand total up to 6.5. So there are 40.1 music FTEs in the district. So if you take away 6.5 of those, that's a 16.2% reduction in staffing. And, oh, is that my time or?
Just go ahead and quickly finish that last thought.
Anyways, yeah, I'm really close to being done. So, like, that just seems to be a disproportionate high amount of the budget that is falling on the music program. And even if you just look at the number in savings, it would be, with the 2 high school ones that aren't specifically mentioned, $811,000. That's 18.4% of the $4.4 million budget deficit. So I don't know. I guess I would just would like some clarification as to why the administration thinks that such a high percentage from one specific program is an acceptable number, considering the music program has definitely been no stranger to budget cuts over the years. And, you know, music is important, and everyone is already doing such a good job with the workload they have, and it's just, you know, how much more efficient can we really make things before, you know, there's no more engine in the car. So,
okay, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Next up, Miley, and then Bricker. Miley, are you, there you are, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't specify, but I am going to talk about music and theater program. So, hi, my name is Miley Pacino. I'm a senior at Red River High School and a part of the arts programs. I was here 2 years ago as well, speaking in defense of music and theater, so I'm getting a little deja vu. I feel as though I have extensive involvement in these subjects, as I have been in over 10 productions in high school alone, and am the choir vice president at Red River. I'm a part of the Madrigal Singers concert choir, and in one of the 2 people who run Velvetones. I want to keep this specific and short, so I have chosen a few points I think are important to discuss. I'll start with how I have significantly benefited from Harmony, that is under the category of historically low enrollment classes. I'm currently enrolled in this class and have learned more in this one semester than I have learned in any class since elementary school. I have learned so much that will benefit me as I go into college as a double major in musical theater and accounting, which I could not do if it wasn't for this department and all these opportunities I have been given. I have been offered scholarships for both musical theater and choir. Without these scholarships, I wouldn't even be able to think about double majoring or getting to move away to go to college. I have been pushed to get better and work to get where I currently am by the teachers who teach these classes like harmony, specifically Mr. Hovey and Mr. Barta, who both took harmony in high school along with many other music and or theater teachers in this state who took classes during high school at either Central or Red River, showing that these programs truly do benefit its students as they go through life. I will list a few of these people. Alex Hovey, who teaches choir at Red River High School, Alex Barta, who teaches at Red River High School, Jeff Mercer, Grand Forks Central, Paul Barta, Grand Forks Central, Sarah Harlow, Grand Forks Central, Jeff Seaboom, Red River High School, Brady Zimmerman, Grand Forks Central and Red River, Leanne Boyer, Lake Agassiz Elementary, Charles Rierick, Phoenix Elementary, Kayla Berger, St. Michael's Elementary, Chris Loeffler, Grafton, Tony Peterson, West Fargo Cheyenne, Brady Ritland, West Fargo High Packers, Seth Brendel, Oak Grove, Eric Starry, Fargo North, Annette Hovey, Carrington, Joanne Miller, and DSU, just to list a few. Now I would like to talk about raising the activity fee for both shows and spa. If these prices were in place during my time in high school, I would not have been able to be part of any production of any kind, simply because me nor my family can afford that. And lastly, I would like to tell you about all the achievement our music department has made through my time at Red River alone. Our Red River Magical Singers was given the Outstanding Performance Award at EDC Festival this year, as well as our Red River Chamber Choir was chosen to perform at this year's ACDA event. Last year, Red River Concert Choir was chosen to sing at Allstate, but the list goes on and on. I think it is odd that the ones who get to make the recommendations about what is disposable in our department never attend any of our band, choir, or orchestra concerts, as well as never attending any of our playing musicals that we put on. And I'll end this speech the same way I did 2 years ago. Thank you for listening to me and hearing the voice that the arts department gave me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bricker McGillicuddy. Bricker McGillicuddy.
Hello. Okay. My name is Bricker McGillicuddy. Thank you for letting me speak to you here today. What I might say may come off a little critical, but please understand I'm simply coming from the place of a student who wishes to have the students who come after me get the same experience and same opportunities and experiences I was offered, and that, of course, I may be wrong. In August of 2024, the district experienced an unprecedented case of fraud when approximately $2 million was stolen through phishing. The administration claimed that even though protocols were followed, the fraud still took place and almost $1 million was lost. And following that, in July, a new compensation package for the business manager was approved. These facts really make you question whether there is adequate accountability.
I'm going to caution you not to bring up a specific personnel and speak generally about these difficult conversations.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course. And public funds. And in 2025, expenditures were approximately $1.7 million above budget. The administration stated that the overrun was largely because salaries and benefits ran higher than anticipated. As of now, the Grand Forks Public Schools employs roughly 850 support/administrative staff. This information comes from the About Us section on the Grand Forks Public Schools website. And roughly 750 teachers. This is an unusual 1.3 to 1 ratio of support to teachers in schools. Many school systems target closer to a 0.7 to 0.9 ratio to maintain a sustainable overhead. All of that to say basically that when you're looking at budget restructuring and sources of potential income, maybe explore every possible avenue. And I mean, of course you guys have, but explore every possible avenue and maybe check if the call is coming from inside the house. Thank you.
Thank you. Since those three general comment cards all fell in the same topic, we'll go to the others that have filled out wishing to speak about the arts. So I have Paul Barta, and I'll look for others as we invite Paul to the microphone.
Good evening. I'm Paul Barta. I'm here today wearing 3 different hats. I am the product of a tremendous education here in Grand Forks, especially in the area of music and theater. I've been a choir and theater teacher at Central for 20 years. I'm also a proud father of 2 sons that had the privilege of being students in this district, again, thriving in the areas of music and theater. One son, Alex, currently serves as a choir and theater teacher at Red River. I essentially said this very same thing nearly 6 years ago. Alex had just completed music directing his first musical at Red River with tremendous success, not to mention being nearly done with his very first year of teaching choir in the same room I sang in as a proud graduate of Red River. His reward for his hard work at this time was me standing at this podium giving testimony to help him not lose his full-time job to a RIF process. I stand here again today in a potentially similar situation. Ironically, less than 1 month from now, he will direct his chamber choir as an audition showcase choir for the North Dakota ACDA conference, taking place on the stage he currently calls home. Quite an impressive accomplishment for him and his students to be selected for this honor. 2 years to the weekend, he was selected as the Young Choir Director of the Year for the state of North Dakota. His reward from this district, yet again, is having to wonder if he will have a job here next year. I say these things to highlight something this district should be very proud of. For years in this district, students like Alex, like me, like Mr. Alex Hovey, like Mr. Jeff Mercer, like Mr. Jeff Seablum, like Mrs. Sarah Harlow, like Mr. Brady Zimmerman, sat in the music classrooms of this very district dreaming of the opportunity to impact students in a way that our Grand Forks music educators impacted us. We had the privilege of living out that dream not only because of their impact on us, but also because of the pride we had in our successful and renowned district music program, and the opportunities we had to go above and beyond with classes such as Harmony, a class that we all took and got to brag to our college classmates about having the opportunity to take, as it's a class very unique to this district. This class that caters to our music students wanting to dig a little deeper into the field could no longer exist with this reduction plan. The people I just named comprise 7 of the 9 teachers who teach high school music here in Grand Forks. We are all products of this historically strong music program who came back because we wanted to continue the tradition we are all so proud of. All 7 of us are going to feel the impact of the proposed plan in one way or another. Some of us might not be here. Some of us might have different job descriptions. What does this say to future educators? Does it make this district or even this profession desirable? Are we as a district attracting and retaining quality teachers? Some of us are struggling to tell current students similar to our younger selves who dreamed about being in jobs like this in this district to follow their dreams, because right now it feels like we'd be lying to them. That is a gut-wrenching feeling. Our fire is burning out because our once bright gold standard program is being slowly dismantled by leadership telling us that gold is no longer the color we should be striving for. The ones that remain in the district might not ever recover from this seemingly continuous fight. We are exhausted from constantly having to fight for a storied program that this district doesn't value the way it deserves to be valued. As a pillar of this district and this community, it's a shame, it's frustrating, it's disheartening, it's tiring, it really hurts. It really hurts because of decisions that have been made and potentially could be made soon by this administration and this board. Decisions that will forever impact the future of the music, theater arts, and spa programs at GFPS. Programs that we are all very proud of. You will make the decisions you need to make, but understand the messaging of these decisions. You're telling us the impact of the education on all of us as students of this district didn't matter. You're telling us the pride and positive feelings we experienced here that drove us to do what we all do now didn't matter. You're telling us the indescribable joy that we felt when we knew we'd get to come back here as teachers didn't matter. And lastly and presently, we're telling us that the countless hours and sleepless nights we've devoted to do our best to preserve this benchmark music program that shaped who we are doesn't matter. Yet, again, you're telling us none of it mattered. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 2 more under the category of the arts. So we'll take, we'll take Amy DeWitt and Niska Kempenich. Amy and Niska, please. We are going to need to hold to this time limit. I do not wish to cut anybody off, but this is how we make space for everyone. So we're doing our best. Please, Amy.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Amy DeWitt, and I'm currently in my 17th year of music education, 12 of which I've spent at Century Elementary School. I'm speaking on behalf of the Grand Forks Elementary Music Department, many of whom are here tonight, regarding the proposed elimination of CODA compensation. Historically, our 2nd and 5th graders put on programs that serve as essential academic capstones, showcasing cumulative student mastery of musical concepts, social-emotional skills, and performance etiquette. These inclusive events are uniquely designed to reach every student, regardless of academic or cognitive ability. The proposed elimination of CODA pay directly threatens the viability of these programs. The CODA formula does not merely compensate for a single evening performance, it covers the extensive expertise required for repertoire selection, logistical coordination, family communication, and extracurricular rehearsals. Without this compensation, these capstone programs and our district-wide choir program cannot continue. Furthermore, the suggestion to embed choir within the standard school day is not a viable or equitable solution. For some of the elementary music teachers in the district, there's no room in their schedule to fit another class. It would also create insurmountable scheduling conflicts. Our band and orchestra students already face difficulties when it comes to scheduling lessons within the school day. So it isn't efficient to add something else that would pull students out of class. None of the elementary music teachers were consulted on this proposal. And to be clear, if you eliminate CODA pay, you eliminate these programs and these opportunities for our kids. While the district may see a $48,000 savings on paper, the long-term deterioration of student engagement and the elementary experience will be far greater. When the list was read, it said that the impact would be on the community. Make no mistake, this decision will impact students. We urge the district to maintain this investment in our students' artistic development. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Niska Kempenich. Niska, are you there?
Hello everyone, it seems like I'm getting deja vu from about 2 years ago when I was a sophomore, 16 years old. My name is Niska Kempenich, I'm now a senior and 18 years old. We students came to discuss the budget cuts to the music and drama program that have been similarly proposed this year, and I acknowledge that these are only concepts of the budget cut, so I hope that my speech will stay with you as you go forward with these discussions. Even though I will be graduating this year, I still hold this music and theater program very close to my heart, and I want to give this new generation of high school students the same chances I had been graciously given. First, I want to talk about the possibility of drama and musical fees going up. I know personally from being involved and hearing conversations that a lot of these students have to pay their own activity fees. Not everyone is very fortunate to have parents pay and have to use their own money that they have saved to be in these shows that keep them happy and involved. Many people use the shows as an escape from their personal lives or just a way to keep busy. If these fees go up, there's a possibility that these students won't be able to afford being in a show that they rely on being in and won't qualify for the reduced price. The second thing I want to talk about is removing classes that have a historically low rate of people joining. The class I have worries about specifically is harmony. I have friends in this class, and originally I had planned on being in this class because I had been told how fun and enriching it is by past seniors, but unfortunately it had not worked with my schedule because I had the medical careers class at the Career Impact Academy. I think classes like harmony can be very important to a student's school life. Even when the amount of students aren't in large numbers, I think that can provide a great opportunity for students to become a close-knit community they may not get in larger classes, like concert choir, which has around 60 students in it right now. Yes, in those types of classes you can gain friends, but a smaller class has a more likely chance of being a close group, creating lots of memories on which students can reminisce. Not only that, but just because there's a lack of students signing up for these classes, that doesn't make them any less valuable. I have heard from my friends that these classes challenge them in different ways compared to the required curriculum classes like math or English, and helps them prepare for the future when it comes time to problem solve ways they haven't before. I've also heard the suggestion of removing 2 high school music teachers and was extremely saddened when I imagined the future possibility of students not getting the chance to know my choir teachers I have known as my trusted adults for the past 4 years, Mr. Alex Barda and Mr. Alex Hovey at Red River High School. These 2 adults have single-handedly made my high school years the best they possibly could be. I've turned to them countless times when I had something I was deeply struggling with in my personal life, and they helped me navigate around it, and I have created lots of memories I frequently think back to and laugh about with my friends. I find myself constantly in a state of sadness when I think of graduating this year, and every time I trace back to why I feel this way, it is not because I will miss math class or English, but I will miss Mr. Barda and Mr. Hovey. I want future high school students to have the chance of having these teachers in their lives as well. Thank you for listening, and I hope you remember what I and my peers have spoken about today in future conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. If I have sorted these correctly, those speakers were the ones who wished to talk about the arts at various levels, so we'll do the same thing again. Questions, clarifying comments from board members? on these budget realignment concepts? Mr. Palmasino?
My only question, we had a couple people talk about fees increase, and we've always made adjustments for students who cannot afford fees to participate in programs, that would still be available and they would still have an opportunity to participate.
Does anyone on district staff want to comment generally about how that works at your level? Yes.
There are mechanisms in place for athletics, for activities of all sorts, so those would still be in play. So if someone cannot afford, we can find out a way to help them, make sure they can.
Thank you. Other questions from board members? Yes, Ms. Flynn?
Couple questions. So I might I've gone through this like a million times, and I think sometimes your eyes get blurry. But there was mention of, in the memo, there's mention of sort of a agreed upon high school model. But in the numbers, it appears as though the music shifts are only elementary. Is that, or could someone point me to where reference to high school reduction is in the line item?
Do you want to take that first, Dr. Brenner, or do you?
I can take the first part, but I don't know if it's going to answer your question fully. The new high school model, the instructional model that will be in place in the fall of '26 would be music teachers being in front of large groups 3.5 periods a day, and then lessons the other 1.5 periods a day. That's what that group agreed to for the high school level. But your question is beyond that, I believe.
Yep, so in addition to that shift, which would add more large group instruction time to some of our staff who aren't at that model yet, in the elimination of low enrollment courses is where you would find the representation for additional music. We are offering currently music classes to fill out teachers' schedules that run like 4, 5, 6 kids. Some examples include, I believe, guitar class, harmony class, which was mentioned tonight, some other courses of that nature.
Okay.
Do you have a follow-up, Ms. Flynn?
With that specific, like low enrollment courses, I think for me personally, it would be helpful to understand what those are and where they come from just a little bit better. Certainly you don't want to we're not pegging each individual, but I don't know where those come from, so.
Yeah, and I don't expect anybody to remember all the things. We could go back and revisit the October board retreat information, where you're provided a list of historically low enrollment courses. It doesn't run just in the music realm. There are also classes, I'll give an example, AP Chemistry. It would qualify as a low enrollment course at one of our campuses. Some of our CTE courses that are coding and things of that nature, kind of those, some people call them capstone type projects when you get up to level 4. German 3 and 4, for example, we currently offer a combined 3 and 4, and it still would qualify as a low enrollment course below 10. So there are many examples beyond music that fall underneath that category.
So this,
if I may, I just want to reiterate again what Dr. Brenner has said, what Board Chair Berger has said. None of this decision-making, none of these recommendations have come without lots of consternation. We agree that everything that we offer right now, we offer for a reason. It adds value to our student experience. Every position on that list is there because it has a purpose. The bottom line is we have a job to do to make our budget reduction goals. And what we did in approaching that was looking at the data. And that's from where our decisions came. It's not the beauty of the teachers and the things. We have amazing educators who have spoken tonight. So I want to say again, this was not an exercise that was undergone lightly, and it's not an exercise that was undergone with cold-hearted nature in mind. I have to state that again.
Can I ask one follow-up to that point, Ms. Flynn, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Is it possible with some of these, much like we talked about during the physical education requirement, that something like this would be offered simply on a different rotation rather than not at all? Do one of you want to take that Thank you.
In terms of harmony, and we haven't fleshed this out totally, so I'm kind of speaking off the cuff here, but I think our goal would be to offer it one semester at Central and one semester at Red River, and then combining those two gets us above the 10 threshold, and then offer students the opportunity to travel, which isn't always the best. Not every student has transportation, so it is a barrier, but our goal is to find a way to make that offerable.
Thank you.
We do, go ahead.
Oh, did you have something to add?
Well, I was just going to say, we do that with other classes between Central and Red River, whether it's, we have a couple AP classes where kids might travel back and forth, so with Harmony, that might work. That would get the number at a high level. Right now, we're running Harmony at about 8 kids, and so if we combine the two schools, we'd be about 16, which would be a manageable class and a manageable FTE between the two schools.
Thank you. Turn it back to you, Ms. Flynn.
Yeah, part of why I asked that question with this specific line item, because it is broad or encompasses like a variety of potential positions. When I look at certified FTEs, or when the public looks at certified FTEs as saying 3.5, to me, if the layperson or someone would just read this, they probably think 1, 2, 3, 0.5 position, instead of it might be comprised of a 0.2 of someone's, a 0.1, a 0.3, a 0.5, and so it gets difficult to understand, so then when we do have individuals come and they do add up and say, okay, so now we have 5.5 positions out of the 40 music, that's 16%, that's a lot. And so if we're not clear about where some of these adjustments are occurring, it could be seen as 1, 2, 3, 0.5 people. And so I just wanted to classify that or clarify that as maybe needing more information on my end. I also, there's a couple adjustments to the elementary. I know that this has been looked at, there was reference to the high school model. It looked as though the elementary, maybe even the middle school section related to the MOU is kind of still a work in progress, though. There was sort of a reference to that there's been sort of a commitment to kind of figure something out, but then it looks like we're maybe putting them in maybe mirroring or matching what the high school model is. So I'm only asking these questions because I know there's been a lot of work done, and I also recognize that there's differences in how our music programs function at elementary, middle, and high school. I also do want to reference that while a lot of these decisions have not been made in a vacuum, it is concerning to me as a board member that there seems to be a disproportionate related to music. So I wanted to give the district opportunity to talk about some of that also.
Anyone want to take the first go on the process or how this maybe informs each level, elementary, middle, high school, where we're at, where we're headed? Dr. Brenner?
I can start. Again, last year we had the middle and high school music self-study committee work through the process, and we landed on what everybody agreed to in consensus into a formula for high school. And at that time, I also suggested to the middle school folks, we'll need to work on this next year as well at the middle level in preparation for 26-27 school year. There are vast differences between the middle school philosophy model and the high school. So, and just working closely with Jeff Seablum, my charge to him and the subcommittee was get to 3 FTE savings at the middle school in all music areas, vocal, band, orchestra. Our middle school principals were advocating for 3. They came down to 2.5. Mr. Seablum and the subcommittee worked, and they got to 1.5. And 1.5 was with some consternation as well. So there's a gap right now. There's a gap between what the district desire is and what the middle school band, vocal, and orchestra would desire. So we're still working on it.
Any others wish to add to that? Dr. Glatch?
Yeah, and I hope I'm representing this correctly, so I ask my principal colleagues to intercept anything that I misrepresent. But As I mentioned before, really it was just driven by the data. We looked at our overall program of studies and where could we make efficiencies occur without completely eliminating opportunities for kids. My understanding is that despite the recommendations for efficiencies, kids will still have the same course offerings largely. Does that mean that we, in the end, run all the sections again? No, we never have at the high school level. I'm talking about specifically now in the overall scope of the registration handbook. We haven't offered every course or run every course. It's all driven by enrollment. But there will still be vocal music, instrumental music, orchestral music. There will still be specialty music groups that students can enroll in. All of those things will still be offered. What is actually run in the end, there will still be efficiencies gained by getting to that 3.5 and looking to not offer courses that fall below that double-digit threshold. The recommendation from the middle level came under the same auspices. Students will still have general music. They will still have vocal, instrumental, orchestral offerings. The time spent on individual lessons will be reduced. And those models may have to shift to even some small group lessons, but there will still be time for lessons to be offered in like that 3.5 with large groups and 1.5 of the day dedicated to lessons. So that's from where the decision's made. It does not mean that we do not appreciate and enjoy and admire all of the great work that has been done in our drama, in our music productions over the course of time. We are known for our music, again, statewide, if not nationwide, for a reason. It comes at a cost, a financial cost for us to be able to run a model like this. And when we're looking to find efficiencies, it's either that or it gets back to that would you rather. Would you rather eliminate more interventions classes for kids who are struggling with their academics? Would you rather push more kids into our core classes of English, science, etc.? They're already in the high 20s. It really comes down to the data and the logistics. That's what drove our decision making. That's what drove the recommendations today.
Other questions, Ms. Flynn? Two more?
I
Sure.
just have one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Bakke?
Can I add to that just from the elementary perspective?
Sure, please.
Since you referenced that, Board Member Flynn. And I know you heard this at the board retreat relative to elementary, but really the conversations around elementary principals were context around, and the rationale behind all of our conversations were about our Be Legendary goals and how do we accomplish our Be Legendary goals. And so really looking at what were the extras that were happening outside of the confines of the school day. And so you heard reference to CODA, which is, again, the elementary additional pay or stipend that happens for additional concerts outside of the school day. And so as an elementary group, we talked a lot about what can we do inside the school day and how do we look at it a little bit differently. And that hasn't been completely fleshed out, just like some of the high school and middle school concepts, but we need to look at it a different way rather than looking at the extras. So again, when we focus on our academic needs, and back to what Dr. Glatch said, we don't want to do any of these, but we also need to look at what our ultimate goals are and what can we make sure that we fit within our school day and how do we look at it a bit differently.
Is CODA just for elementary, or is that everyone? Okay, and so can you talk about how it would be different, just eliminating that after-school concert component? You know, there is reference to someone saying, well, we're still doing the work, we're still putting together the concert, we're still doing it during the day, so it could be choir, which is not maybe a part of the general curriculum. So like, would it be a reduced contract and they would still get credit for that, just not an evening performance, or how is that work?
Yeah, so elementary principals, feel free to jump in if anything I say is incorrect, or feel free to jump in if there's any clarifying comments. But primarily the CODA is for the after-school concert, the evening performances. And so right now we currently put in a concert at again, with second grade and fifth grade. That primarily happens during the school day as well as in the evening. And that CODA primarily is for the after-school concert. Yes, there's some planning and organization that goes into that as well too, but we also have to look at it from an equity lens. We also have second grade and fifth grade teachers that show up and help support that concert that occurs, and they are not receiving any of those CODA contracts as well too. And so when we look at it, we looked at how can we provide the same opportunity for students, but during the school day. Providing a concert during the school day is an option that we want to further explore and provide that as an option.
Okay.
Do we have any administrators at the building level? Yep, please.
Thank you, President Berger, and Mr. Baca for your comments. Just quickly add, Board Member Flynn, our elementary group, I'm going to use Phoenix as an example, and Mr. Rarick is here tonight, so thank you, Charles, for being here. He approved of these comments because he and I work closely together. We've had conversations, and I would much rather have Charles at our school full-time and not have him at 2 schools combined and sharing schools and serving other. And we have the flexibility and the beautiful schedule that we could potentially have some possibilities. And I would like to mention that it's our hope as elementary principals that we could collaborate with our teachers now moving forward to look at how can this be restructured, how can we make this work. Some of those budget decisions have to be made before that, and then conversations happen after that, after it's public and after we have a little bit more of the detail. But my reference to his schedule, we could potentially make that work within our school day. I realize that's not feasible for every school, but it could be feasible where Mr. Rarick was offered to another school to provide some assistance with their choir program or some things that they're offering, rather than sharing his daily schedule, teaching our elementary general music classes in 2 combined schools. So when we talked about would you rather this or that, he and I talked about that's one of the things that would be very important is prioritizing him to be 100% at Phoenix. Thank you.
Thank you. Other building level administrators wish to weigh in at any level as we talk about these various budget concepts? Yes, please, Dr. Arison.
Just want to go back to low enrollment classes. And one thing that we talk about, and I'm looking at lists from last year, I didn't offer dual credit government because I had 7 students. I didn't offer Great Wars. There was 15 kids enrolled. We didn't have FTE space. Right now, we are running a guitar class with 2 kids in there because we had room in that teacher's schedule.
I'm going to bring the mic just a little bit closer.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yep. So right now, we're offering a guitar class with 2 kids in there because we had room in that teacher's schedule. So we make decisions throughout our curriculum, throughout our content, from all our requireds to all of our electives. I could go through CTE lists and name 5 classes we didn't offer last year because of low enrollment. So what we're looking at is trying to get to that number that the school board has asked us to get to. When we talk about the classes that we offer and we talk about the music, nothing's going to change at Red River High School, and I don't think Central High School when it comes to the dramas, the musicals, the jazz bands, the madrigal choirs, all our small ensembles, all that is going to stay the same. We're just looking at a few low enrollment classes that we're trying to get to efficiency at to be sure that we can meet the goal that the school district asked us to meet. We start out by saying, I don't want to cut any of these. There's not one class on this list that we want to cut. But when we come down to and we look at what it is we need to cut and how we get to the goal that we've been asked to get to, that's some of the things that we look at.
I'm going to weigh in, and then perhaps this is going down the line here. You've heard this sentiment from a few speakers, and I appreciate them naming, it feels like we were just here, it feels like we were just here. You know, the one thing that hasn't been stated about any of these concepts is 2 years ago, we were talking about these possible concepts or building our reserve fund. That's a completely different conversation than looking at these concepts. We don't have the money in the budget. And so that's why we're feeling this being pressed up against having to do, let's just say for now, most of these, and I don't know where the board is ultimately going to land, but it is different this time around, as Mr. Bombach alluded to right at the outset. This is the picture. These are the numbers. This is the budget reduction goal. So I appreciate that comment. Any others on the building level side of things? Other questions from board members? Ms. Flynn, your microphone is on. Are you ready?
Yeah, I just had one
okay.
comment.
No, that's great.
I think it's important to talk about the facts, and I think this allows us to have good clarification. And this is not an attempt to correct anything that the public said, but I just want to state that I think it's fair on this side to defend the board members and administration, that I have probably seen everyone sitting at this table and everyone behind me at a musical or a concert or anything. And so I just want to state that because I think it's important that, referencing me to people who don't show up to things or making the decision, that's just, these people have been there. And I've seen every single one of you at a function. So I hope that there was a couple different comments made. I think sometimes when we talk about Dr. Seabloom, it feels like that's more of a context of high school, middle school, and he might have oversight into elementary too, but then we're hearing that maybe there's some elementary feelings of not being involved or like things like that. So I hope through this process that it creates better understanding of maybe some of the decisions for elementary, but that maybe those elementary individuals can help identify a solution if there's different ideas that they can come forward with. I do, as a personal example, I know that my daughter has personally told me, who's in fourth grade orchestra, that she's had to kind of move around when orchestra happens, either 2 or 3 times. And that causes frustration with the orchestra teacher, and that probably causes frustration with her teacher or whatever specials class she's in. And so I do think that there's some workarounds that can happen, but I hope that the elementary individuals, if they have ideas, can share those and that those will be heard. Mr. Onstead talked about engaging one of his teachers. I know a lot of the other professionals try to do that, but hopefully there can be some maybe meetings of the minds in a little different way as we're talking about concepts.
Mr. Onstead?
Just to be clear, I'll make sure that mic's on. Mr. Rarick does not support removing CODA. If I spoke that way, he wanted me to clarify that to make sure that I was on record to say he does not support that, but we've had conversations.
Does someone want to clarify Mr. Seabloom's role in the district and role in this process? I think there's maybe a bit of... Sure, thank you.
Mr. Seabloom is our K through 12 music coordinator. So he does interface with everybody in our system. And I will say he is an ambassador for music education, vocal, strings, band. Sometimes he's put in a position where he's trying to balance administrative recommendations or desires and what teachers wish for, because nobody wants to lose an ounce of what we have in place right now. So he's just a true professional trying to balance all of these conversations.
And related to that, his role in this process, when he came alongside, starting last August, just to lift that up.
Yeah, he was part of the self-study work last year, again this year with middle school. And he and I talked the other day, and he's going to be at the retreat on Friday as well.
Thank you. Other questions from board members? I'm looking, somebody pointed somewhere. Oh, yes, sorry. I was looking all the way over here, and I said, nope, none of those gentlemen. Mr. Olson.
I will be at the retreat on Friday, and I hope that we get a chance to talk a little bit about some of the things that were discussed today, a little bit more. So I was holding back from some of my comments, and I do have some specific things to talk about with my role as a middle school music teacher. So I can wait until then if that's more appropriate. But the one thing I will say that the comment that was made that all these things will still be offered, but the burden of offering them will fall on fewer people, and they'll increase the workload quite a bit for some of these teachers. And the concern of what is asking too much of our teachers to do is a question that we've been grappling with GFEA, with the music teachers, because a whole nother class is being dropped on the middle school for sure. That is not just a small add to our schedule. It's it's a big time add, and I know that the district has made a concerted effort on mental health and having balance in the workplace and things of that nature. And I'm wondering how that is going to happen for some of these teachers who are going to be shouldering a lot more responsibility and trying to do all these extra assignments that it feels like that are just being added to what we are doing already. And just with the feeling that you can do this. This will be an efficiency. Maybe in one way, yeah, but not for the people having to do the job. So there's some concern about that. There's also been concern at the middle school level because some other, we understand that we're in a budget crisis. We do understand that. And some other ideas on how to get there have been proposed, especially at the middle school level, and it feels like they were just not really explored. So I'd really like to see a little bit more spirit of collaboration on that, because I know that the middle school people in the group, in the teachers who were in that self-study group were repeatedly saying that this isn't going to work at the middle school level. I mean, the high school model that was adopted, this isn't going to work. This is a crucial time. This is an important part. This is not the best way. What if we compromised here and did the 1.5, that sort of thing? And it just seemed like it wasn't being really heard. So we're concerned about that. And then I believe that I'm going to speak for the orchestra teachers here at the elementary level, that they did not know that this was coming, the cutting of fourth grade orchestra. And for both orchestra and band teachers in the elementary level, we have a very big concern of the impact of trying to start both orchestra and band at the fifth grade level, that it will hurt both programs, band and orchestra, because it's tough for families to take on two instruments at one time. Having that staggered start has definitely made it possible for students to be in both, but to do both, to start a new instrument from scratch, two of them at the same time, we're very concerned. But we'll look forward to talking about this more on Friday at the board retreat.
Thank you. Some of what you're articulating, Mr. Olson, is this gap that Dr. Brenner referred to about, is 1.5 tenable, is 2.5 tenable, what does that look like in the middle? I do want to just clarify one thing, and others who have more experience in the contract world than I. Teachers who teach beyond their contract are given a 6/5 contract for that. So that's not quite, I know it's not what you're saying, but I just want to talk about the difference between a different allocation of those 5 class periods, 3.5 and a 1.5 within that regular contract, and asking a teacher to teach a 6th period. There is, in our contracted agreement, additional compensation for teachers who are asked to go above and beyond in that way. I know, again, that's not what you're saying, but sometimes it might beg the question of, well, what does that mean? Are they asking to teach more without being compensated? So what we're talking about here is a different model of how to fashion those 5 education periods. Is that fair to say for now? I look forward to continuing conversation, but is that a fair and accurate representation?
Yeah, I think just the added class that we would now be taking on is not just walk through the door and teach the class, because it would be it's a lot more to add with what we're already trying to do, and we all have a high standard, and what's going to end up doing is, because we want to maintain the standard here in Grand Forks, because we're very proud of it, it's going to end up that we're going to run ourselves into the ground.
I think that's a fair concern to share. Otherwise, other questions from board members about these concepts? I know there are several related to the arts that we're taking on all at once during this public comment period. Other questions from board members? Any other information you're looking for? Final thoughts from district staff? Fair to say this is an okay place to land for tonight? Okay. I think we have 4 more topics, but the number of speakers is a bit less. We have, I think, a total of 7 speakers remaining. The next 3 will be talking about the German 3-4 offering at Central, it looks like, or combining that with Red River. They're all various iterations of the same comment. So first, Alexander Humble, and then Patricia Humble and Erica Fiol. So Alexander, Patricia, and Erica, please.
Hello, I'm Alexander Humble. I've been a student at Grand Forks Central for 3 years, and I've been in the German program for all 3 of those years. I would really love to continue taking German, and as it would assist me in my further academic studies. Taking German 3 and 4, even though it's a condensed class, it can help massively with other academic growth. I know several students, several underclassmen in German 2 who would love to take German 3-4 and may not be able to due to the budget cuts. German 3-4 may have been stated to be available on Edgenuity. However, Edgenuity does not offer German 3 anywhere. It offers Spanish and French 3, but German 3 is nowhere to be found on that list. Taking German 3 or 4 can also assist with classes at UND and can grant, through the seal of biliteracy, a possibility to skip certain semesters, being able to jump immediately into a 201 or 202 course from German 3 or 4 with the prospect of saving lots of money and time for students at GFC and Red River. The possibility of cutting only the class at GFC and the possibility of having students drive from GFC to Red River is honestly unfeasible because due to the 5-minute passing period, driving from Central to Red River in a 5-minute passing period during the day would really not be possible. And for those who don't have a car and have to require busing, the reduced busing would make that unfeasible. I would continue liking to comment on the prospect of reducing the overall credits and electives while increasing the electives and still maintaining foreign language. That would basically shoehorn people into not taking German. And eliminating the German 3 classes, even though they have low enrollment, the possibility of removing them may influence other students taking German 1 and 2 to not continue going down that path. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next we have Patricia Humble and then Erica. Patricia and Erica, please.
That's my kid. Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be heard. My name is Patty Humble. My son Alexander is currently a junior at Central. I can certainly understand the need to address the budget deficit, and I can appreciate the difficult discussions that must have been had. But despite the amount of administration and other official personnel involved in these discussions, I feel as if the actual needs of the students are being chosen by those with the least involvement with those students. Aside from the district-wide staff survey that yielded only an 11% response rate, who else has had input on these ideas? In regards to the eliminate electives with historically low numbers proposal, it appears that while it is a small number of students, those students tend to be on a higher or more advanced track in regards to levels 3 or 4 of foreign language or AP classes. Discontinuing German 3 and 4 at Central is doing these students a huge disservice. It is also very important to note that the low numbers may be low due to scheduling conflicts and not lack of interest. Discontinuing their ability to study a language for 3 or 4 years at their home school will preclude them from transitioning smoothly from high school language to university language classes. For example, if Alexander is unable to take German 4 next year, but wishes to take it in college, he will have lost a year of fluency and practice. While I can only speak for my child, I cannot be the only parent with a student in this situation. Not being able to continue German also affects his ability to earn his seal of biliteracy and prospective scholarship opportunities. We are an Army family. This is a military area. Alexander was born in Germany, and I'm sure he's not the only student in Grand Forks Public Schools who was born in a foreign country. He has loved having the ability to learn this language, and we look forward to going back to Germany after graduation. Sometimes the only opportunity that these kids have to experience a different culture is through the language studies. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Erica Fiol.
Hi, thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Erica Fiol, and I am the current German teacher at Red River High School. I am here to support foreign language, in particular upper levels German at Central High School. The current proposal is to cut German 3 and 4 from offerings at Central High School. Level 1 and 2 would remain. The proposed alternatives are to take levels 3 and 4 online or travel to Red River for these classes. The North Dakota Center for Distance Education does not offer 3 or 4, and Imagine Edgenuity also does not offer 3 or 4. That leaves traveling to Red River for these classes. Transportation can be difficult for students to arrange since there is not a school bus that transports students between schools. I worry for the students who live on base and take the bus into town, or for the students who don't have reliable or any transportation. Some of the students who reside on base may have even lived in Germany, but their home school doesn't or won't offer upper-level German. This proposed cut would reduce the opportunities for students to achieve the Workforce Ready component of the North Dakota Choice Ready, since that requires 3 years of the same language or be prepared to take the test to earn the seal of biliteracy. Students who wish to attend an Ivy League school are highly recommended or required to take 3 or 4 years of the same language. While this proposed cut isn't a cut for all students who wish to take German, it is a proposed cut for those who want equitable opportunities regardless of which side of the boundary line the student resides. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Questions from board members regarding this concept? Yes, Mr. Clevin?
There, in not just German, but other classes, either are currently or proposed to be shared between both high schools. Is that correct? So a student could still take the course, correct? Okay.
Yeah, would there be a short list of some examples of others, Dr. Glatch, or looking at our high school principals, how this has worked before?
It just happens periodically, quite honestly, depending upon, a student might not be able to fit the course in at their home school. So in other words, the course is offered this period, they have a conflict. It's offered at Red River a different period. So they have the ability to provide their own transportation to take the course at Red River. But there are courses that are only offered at Central High School. For example, graphic arts, the graphic arts strand, all at Central High School. So anyone in the district who wants to take it does need to come to Central and provide their own transportation. There have been similar courses at Red River in the past. Autos was one, right? So this isn't a new concept.
Yes, Dr. Glatch, you have something to add?
I do want to validate what Ms. Fiel stated. There is not a German 3 or 4 offering online of which I could find. I'm not sure how that bled into the conversation, but I do want to confirm that that is factual. Unless they enroll in a University of North Dakota course, that there's an offering online through them, but that comes with additional contingencies.
Yes, Ms. Flynn.
I know it's been stated, but I also think it's important to reiterate that just because something can be offered doesn't mean that someone has the ability to access it, right, through transportation. Could there be an option for us to provide it online? So, like, could someone who's teaching at Red River, for example, offer it in a virtual way in that classroom, while not ideal, but to people at Central so they don't have to travel? Has that been done? I mean, I'm just thinking about more creative ways. If it's not offered online, obviously not ideal, but if someone really wanted it, could they essentially be in a classroom?
Someone want to speak to that possibility, or if that's been explored? Dr. Hodak, do you want to weigh in?
In many of the smaller schools in this state, when there are courses that students want, especially the small Class B schools, and those administrators then visit with one another, and a Manville will say, I can produce 4 students, Larimore says, I can have 6. Another school district, Northwood, might say, I have the teacher that can do that, and then the capabilities of being able to offer that course for the students to do that. So yes, a lot of that does go on, but I would say that it's a lot of times driven by the teachers as well, because the German teachers in Grand Forks know the German teachers generally in West Fargo or some other place. And so when they have their conferences or they get together, those are the groups that tend to drive those solutions.
Anyone at the building level want to speak about that possibility?
I can speak a little bit to the online, where that's coming from. I think our hope was, we don't know of an online vendor where this would work. I still haven't heard of one, but it was something we'd be open to if an individual found an option. So that's where that conversation's coming from. I'll speak to the kids at Central right now. So I will say, anytime I have to say to a kid, your option is to go to Red River High School, I don't like it, right? Doesn't feel right. It's on their shoulders, and they may have issues with that. It never feels good. Right now, we have 6 students in that combined 3-4 class. 2 of them are 3s. So those are the students I feel like we owe something to those 2 to be able to finish out. Hopefully, they can have their own transportation to Red River, but we're really open to options, to being creative, to be able to allow them to finish out through level 4. Our German 2 students right now sit at 21. Typically, that number drops off pretty hard between level 2 and level 3, just because there's not the need as there was before for students to take multiple years of foreign language unless that's a real interest for them beyond high school.
While I've got you, could you clarify the other piece of that conversation about only having 5 minutes, the passing time, what kind of accommodation you have made, would make, will make for those students who are traveling?
Students that are traveling are allowed to leave their previous period early at their home school, allowed travel time, and they're allowed to arrive late at the school they go to. So they have 20 minutes, 15 minutes at least for travel between the 2 schools.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Dr. Arison?
Yeah, one other thing to add to that too, we have for Red River students that are coming to, or for Central students that are coming to Red River, because parking is tough, our building is really big and long, we have allowed them to park in staff parking and received a fob for the building, so it gives them a really tight window of when they can enter the building, when they can enter the building, to make that a little bit more convenient for them as well.
Thank you. Other questions from board members regarding this concept? Any other clarifying information from district staff that would be helpful? All right, my next pair, I'll give you the names first and then we'll talk about what we're about to talk about. Joanna Helms and Dale Helms, related to transportation in the district. Joanna and Dale?
Hi. Good evening, members of the school board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Joanna and I work at Triangle Coach Service, coordinate directly with Allison Gregoire on transportation for extracurricular activities, class trips throughout the district. From this professional perspective, I can say that the transportation coordinator position is vital in keeping, in keeping the district-wide transportation running smoothly. Allison serves as a central point of coordination, ensuring routes, class trips, extracurricular activities, drivers, schools are all aligned. When schedules change, issues arise, or safety concerns need immediate attention, she provides timely decisions and clear communication that prevent disruptions from teams, students, and staff. The work handled by this role does not disappear if the position is eliminated. Instead, it becomes fragmented, increasing the likelihood of miscommunication, delays, and safety risks, particularly for extracurricular and field trip transportations that require careful coordination beyond daily routes. Based on my direct experience working with Allison, eliminating the transportation coordinator position would be detrimental to the district's transportation operations and the reliability schools and families depend on. I respectfully urge the board to reconsider the decision to retain the transportation director coordinator position. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dale Helms?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Dale Helms. I apologize for the way I look, but I left work early to get here, waiting for 2.5 hours to get here. So thank you very much. And I have to say I've never been in front of so many doctors at one time. But anyway, I have to tell you that I own Triangle Transportation, or Triangle Coach Service in East Grand Forks. We've been busing Grand Forks kids for quite a while now. I have to tell you that when Jeanette Dahl was here, we had such a relationship that it's almost like we knew what each other was going to ask and say and do. So when she retired and you brought in the other people for that job, it took a little while for that to happen, for that to get to that point, because, you know, I don't know if most people know how much busing Grand Forks actually does. I mean, it's a ton. And it's a big job to keep all this stuff straight. And so we always take and we put pride into hauling Grand Forks. Although we're in East Grand Forks has probably got priority over East Grand Forks in most cases because they've been good to us and we've tried to be good to them. So eliminating this position for somebody that has been there and just kind of got this all straightened out, knows what to do and how to do it and what to do next. It's really important. If this gets eliminated, we're going to be probably right back to where we were when Jeanette left, and we're going to have to kind of start all over and get everybody to learn this. In my position, our buses fill up fast. Okay, so we can't wait until the last minute, you know, most times for somebody to make rent the bus from us. Our schedule is booked out for a while. So what we do is we've had meetings with the Grand Forks School Board, or with the bus and transportation, and we've told them to get us their schedule, you know, like for the year, like their fall, winter, you know, spring, whatever, you know, get us their schedule, get on the list, and we can always make changes. Okay, so we finally got to that point where we got that to happen, and most of the time, the only thing that really changes maybe leave times or something, but as far as the schedule itself has been good. We've tried to work with the Grand Forks school system. We've had, like Grand Forks Central calls us and wants something done. You know, we've tried to do some favors here and there as much as we can, but we have a business, we have to pay bills and stuff too, so we help out as much where we can help, but maybe not, you know, not as much as we should probably, but sometimes it gets hard to do that. But this position is a very important position that you're looking at. And like I said, it gets to be tough because back before COVID hit, I'm going to just throw some numbers at you. I'm going to say there's like 3,000 bus companies in the United States, charter bus companies. When COVID hit, there was like 1,475. Over half of us went out, left, gone. So the busing has gotten so much tighter and so much harder to get busing. So I would like to, you know, at least, you know, I think it's a position that you want to maybe, you know, keep up. I know where you're at.
Finish this last thought if you.
I'm on East Grand Forks City Council. I know what you're going through, trust me, because it's hard. But you know, you've heard a lot of really good comments here tonight. A lot of people talking about different things, and I would hope that you people would sit there and take them to heart and really look at them. I know these things are tough. But things just got to be done. But this position is really an important position that I think you should look at really hard.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Questions from board members related to this budget realignment concept? Yes, Mr. Clevin?
Just remind us what the dollar figure attached to that is, please.
If I'm looking at it correctly, 85,650 for one FTE. Is that correct? Somebody else who has their eyes on it? 85,650. Other questions from board members? Just have one clarifying question, and I don't know who this will land on. We heard a bit of a concept about this being fragmented, if it isn't one position. In the interim between Jeanette Dahl and this position, or looking forward, if this concept is adopted as a part of the process, where does that fall? Is it shared? Is it split? Is it, looking at Mr. Bombach, looks like he's at the ready.
Yeah, President Berger, members of the board, so the position was relatively new. About 3 years ago is when it first was designed, and a part of that was in response to continued busing challenges, and the concept was saying instead of having that fragmentation, because at the time it was split, the responsibilities were split primarily threefold. The first would be general student transportation, general education, fell to a secretary in the Buildings and Grounds Department. Special education fell to a secretary in the Special Education Department, and then the activities fell to a secretary in the Activities Department. At the time, that third position was filled by Jeanette Dahl, so that's what the reference was. So this position didn't exist prior, but it was brought to come together and said if somebody woke up each and every day thinking about student transportation, we would get ahead of things and become more strategic. I agree with some of the commentary about how the person who's in the position today has really began to hit the stride, and we finally start to see some of that strategy out of that position versus the first couple of years we were so short on drivers. That person was in the cab of a bus helping in that lift. And so the context of this is difficult, and like so many of these, I would say fantastic position and person involved with that. But there was a model prior to. So Jeanette didn't fill this position as mentioned. She filled one of those three secretary roles. And so the concept would be to revert to that fragmentation, and you may lose some of that aligned strategy involved with that, but there's a model that we conceivably could go back to.
So I just have one follow-up to that, and I think you answered most of it. Is it possible that in the fragmentation, we don't realize this entire savings because it's three people who maybe aren't finding the efficiencies? I just don't know this world. Or are we certain that A, these three individuals, the buildings and grounds, special ed and activities can handle this workload, and that we still can stay neutral on the bill we get from Triangle, let's say, just as an example. Has that been a part of the conversation?
Yeah, President Berger, so there's plenty to go in there and try to unwrap. Things have changed even from 3 years ago in busing transportation to today. So there's a lot to, if you try to compare it that time period till now. But one thing that has changed is we have a new product with Tyler Technology to help with some of the busing routing. Certainly when this concept was brought forward as administrative recommendation, so the first call was to Valley Bus and saying, hey, what can we get? And just for the record too, Valley Bus is not thrilled with the elimination of this position either. And so we need to work together between the resources we have, primarily those three secretary positions, in-house, but also with our external vendor to really figure it out, because truly stated, the work couldn't go away without impact.
Thank you. Other questions from board members? Any other information for clarity's sake from district staff related to this concept to eliminate the transportation coordinator? Okay, I believe I have 2 comment cards left, and they are not aligned, but I am going to let you know, both of you, I don't know how long each of these conversations is going to last, but Jimmy Sweat and I believe this is Carly Hoffman. I'm sorry, I can't quite read the writing. Jimmy Sweat on the Grand Forks Virtual High School program. Carly Hoffman, reduction of school nurses by 1 position. So perhaps if you can both be here, not quite sure how long the virtual high school conversation will take, but Carly will be on deck as soon as that finishes. Jimmy?
Good evening, Mr. President and board members. I am Jimmy Sweat. I'm active duty Air Force stationed here at Grand Forks for about the last 5 years, and most importantly, father to a 14-year-old daughter who is currently enrolled in the Grand Forks Virtual High School program. I just want to start with little background. So my daughter was born with a very rare genetic heart defect that directly affected her immune system. Due to this prevented her from being able to interact with schooling, daycare, things of that nature, where she was in close contact to high sickness probability areas. And due to this, it's very possible that this has affected her ability to learn social norms and such as she progressed and aged. So now as a 14-year-old high school student who missed out on a lot of opportunities to grow in those social norming activities, she suffers heavily with depression, anxiety, and just overall general social interactions. And due to that, she is, while being in resident or in school in person, she's been considered, maybe one of the weird kids. She is been bullied daily. She's ostracized and basically made to question her own personal worth. I'd like to read a couple things to you very briefly. These were assignments that were actually handed in at school, so we can kind of address a potential oversight, missed issues with my daughter from the staff that she was being taught by that were very concerning. So the assignment was, if you could meet anyone dead or alive, who would it be? She goes on to speak about a surgeon that she looks up to, and if I cut down to about 2/3 of the way through, it says, if I could see him in person only once, I would be happy. I'd be happy knowing I had met him, that I had seen and been next to him, the man who saved me. Several nights so far, I had thought of death. I am weak. I would think, these pills could kill me. This was an assignment that was graded by a teacher. It says, great job, 10 out of 10. This was never brought to the principal's attention. This was never brought to the school board's attention, and it was never brought to her parents' attention, myself or her stepmother, who works in the same building, only a couple doors down from that teacher that this was provided to. So there's a big concern there of my daughter's needs and those being met within.
You have 20 seconds to talk about the virtual high school program, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Within that. So she has the need for that virtual high school program. She would lock herself in their rooms, couldn't be found, had no interactions with anybody. Ever since being enrolled in a virtual high school program, she now is found laughing and joking, dancing around the house, singing at the top of her voice. Every day she comes up, jumps in my arms, hugs me. She comes out and plays with her newborn baby sister every day. Her entire life has been changed by this program. And if the program is taken away, it's going to be highly detrimental to her and any other kids who potentially partake in it. It's possible this program saved her life.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Before we open up questions to board members, I just want to remind the public that there are avenues to bring, hold on please, that there are avenues to bring concerns at the building level before they reach the public comment period of the school board. So if a parent or guardian or trusted adult has a concern about a student or a staff member, please use the appropriate channels. It's difficult for us as a school board to hear this during the public comment period of a budget realignment process, that there may have been a miss or someone has a question about how something was or was not followed as it relates to procedure at the building level. So there are lots of folks to escalate that concern. I would just hope that in this case, that you have reached out, I don't know if you're still listening, sir, that you have reached out to those people who should have heard this concern before we got to tonight. Okay, just want you all to hear that. As it relates to the virtual high school program, any questions from board members regarding this concept in our realignment? Yes, Dr. Lund.
Dr. Galach, or maybe your colleagues next door, being a physician, there are people who have medical reasons that they can't go to school. I'm pretty sure we have alternative ways for educating them. I'm wondering if you could elaborate on if somebody has a condition that they can't attend school, what alternatives are there available besides this virtual high school?
In the past, we've set up a variety of opportunities. It could be through different online platforms. It could be through the North Dakota Center for Distance Ed. It could be through classroom assignments facilitated through our Google Classroom and graded by the teachers. So it really has been tailored to meet the needs of the child. Currently, as you already alluded to, they are enrolled through the virtual high school, so they have that virtual high school mentor there guiding them along the process. But we have stood up other options in the past.
The questions from board members about Grand Forks Virtual High School? Ms. Flynn?
How many students are enrolled?
We currently have 26 students taking their whole load of courses and then a 0.5 teacher assigned to be their mentor teacher.
And when we started hearing about the virtual high school like a couple years ago, the idea was that it would be cost neutral, but there's a cost here associated with eliminating it. So can you talk about why that is?
Yeah, the presumption is that students would remain enrolled in our district through a different means. So right now, the cost of educating a student in the virtual high school is quite honestly more efficient than it is in a face-to-face environment. When you prorate out the amount that we pay the staff compared to the number of students, it's less than $5,000. But there are staff assigned to that, so the savings comes from eliminating the 0.5 staff and then the stipends for the manager and the special educator who are helping progress student learning through their roles as well.
To clarify, so yes, there's someone hired, but the idea might be that if this goes away, those students would seek other means of education, which means we would lose that revenue per pupil, correct?
Well, ideally, they would re-enroll back into our campuses, and we would continue to have them on our rolls to gain that per pupil reimbursement.
Yeah, ideally, but the way that it was talked about when we heard the concept and we voted on it and supported it, and then even Dr. Lund saying there's kids who don't have another option. The idea has always been that there could be a potential loss of revenue, and that it was kind of cost neutral at that point, because there may be students who may not be able to be enrolled through.
Yeah, we don't know the pathways. Our goal would be to get them re-enrolled in our campuses and then to take care of the students who are home for medical needs through the means that we provide those services prior.
Sure.
I'm going to ask one follow-up before you go on. Is it possible, though, that if they find their way to Grand Forks Central, to Grand Forks Red River, to community high school, that it does cost the district more than we have invested currently? Is that maybe the other layer?
Thank you for asking. Well, so the cost to educate a child on average, I'm looking at Brandon down here, I want to say is right around $11,000. That's our reimbursement for a student. And I don't remember the cost to educate. I'd have to get you those metrics. But I do know that
17,000?
Somewhere around there. I know the cost, when we calculate out the cost to educate a child in the virtual environment, it's what I described. So it's more cost effective that way. However, there would be a savings to the general fund because it would be an elimination of those positions.
And I suppose it isn't exactly true that each one to re-enter Central or Red River has a cost to the district of that amount, because if they find their way into 5 classes that are already being offered and those teachers are already hired and the building's already lit and heated, right? I mean, it isn't quite that. It would all depend. There are lots of levers to be pulled. Is that fair, Mr. Baumbach?
Yeah, I would say it's entirely fair. All that is accurate. I mean, on average, you get to a $17,000 figure when you take into the whole apparatus. This is a state-reported number. And so just the same, there are support networks, I would presume, that are available to these students, even not directly related to the virtual programming, that theoretically those variables would be included in that calculus. But you're right, this is just like when it comes to low enrollment courses and such, is that, or even at the elementary level, when you have a number of sections in the same building, you can then allocate any additional students across the existing sections is where you find savings. And so as we stepped into the virtual academy, the ambition would be, there could have been new students introduced to our system. There's likely much more to pursue in that business model component that we're just not getting to, given the context of this budget realignment. And so in the immediate, there's this savings that I think you could defend.
Thank you. Ms. Flynn, do you have more?
Yeah, I think I struggle with this one, and I know it's a concept, so I appreciate you bringing it forward. But I struggle with completely eliminating a program that took 2 to 3 years to get up and running, and resources were put into it, and then it's efficient. And the idea is that it could potentially become more efficient and actually save us monies if we have students who are currently not in our district. Again, that's an assumption, but to eliminate a program after it's only 6 months, concept of elimination after only 6 months in existence, we don't have data, we don't have, and so I think part of that is not only, I support that work, and I believe we're reaching students that maybe we wouldn't have had in the district and actually creating efficiencies, but I also want to caution us as a school board in a district to say we spent 2 to 3 years getting a program up and running, and Dr. Glatch did a lot of work with that, and then to say, well, we're just going to eliminate it. Again, I know we're in a budget time period, but I just think the optics of that is not fair to when we have all these conversations and we do a due diligence and hearing things out and understanding the concepts, and then the board supports it, and then it's like, well, we need to cut something, so we're going to cut this. And I think this one directly impacts students, and I just feel like this one specifically, among others, but as we're talking about this one, is a direct facing impact to the student learning process that would be a detriment to cut.
Thank you. Dr. Lund, did I see you over there, or was it Mr. Palmasino? Yeah, the other piece, and you've mentioned a bit of this, Mr. Baumbach, you have too, Dr. Glatch. We don't know what the upper limit is of this virtual academy. I don't know, at a certain point, of course, it scales, and then you hire an additional staff person because you've got those number of students, but we just don't know. Anyone else want to weigh in? Oh, yes, Mr. Manley, thank you.
Just a quick question on the students that we have, 26, and how many of those did we happen to pull away from the homeschool crowd? And if this does go away, do you think we could, and I suppose you don't have that data yet, but what are your feelings on, can we keep those in Grand Forks Public Schools, or do you think they'll go back to that homeschool setting?
We only recovered one from homeschool at this point. We have another open enrollment request for next year from an out-of-district student, and another homeschool request for next year for another student. We just didn't have space this year for them. But otherwise, they are all students that are currently enrolled in our district.
Other questions from board members related to the virtual high school? Any other information from district staff that would be helpful? All right, Carly Hoffman, thank you so much for your patience. This is reduction of school nurses by 1 position.
My name is Carly Hoffman, and I'm a school nurse for Grand Forks Public Schools. I'm here speaking today on behalf of all Grand Forks Public School nurses to express our serious concern regarding the proposal to eliminate a full-time school nursing position. We understand the financial pressures facing the district. However, reducing nursing staff is not a responsible or cost-effective decision and places student safety, staff workload, and district liability at risk. School nurses are a core part of school-based mental health teams and are often the first to recognize when physical complaints such as headaches or stomach issues are signs of anxiety, depression, or other mental health concerns. Early identification matters, and it prevents small problems from becoming crises. School nurses also collaborate with teachers, counselors, psychologists, social workers, and administrators to assess students and provide interventions, make referrals, and follow up. These systems rely on adequate staffing to function safely and effectively. The medical complexity of students continues to increase and evolve daily. Every day, school nurses are responsible for managing students with asthma, diabetes, seizure disorders, severe allergies, mental health conditions, and other chronic health concerns. We administer medications and specialized services like insulin administration, tube feedings, catheter care, injury and emergency intervention, and more. If your nurses are asked to take on the responsibility, it would heighten the risk of medical errors and raise the district's liability. Research shows that students with access to a full-time school nurse experience significantly fewer illness and injury-related absences and early dismissals, allowing them to stay in class ready to learn. Studies show that when a school nurse is present, principals, teachers, and office staff save significant time that would otherwise be spent managing student health concerns. One analysis calculated a savings of over $133,000 per school annually, representing a return investment of $1.84 for every dollar spent on school nursing services. Some of our services are also reimbursed by North Dakota Medicaid. According to the district's proposed document, they estimate approximately $85,000 in savings by eliminating one full-time school nursing position. However, the individual salaries of the district's nurses are roughly half this amount. We fear the actual savings from removing a position would be significantly less than what's suggested. School nurses are not a discretionary expense. They are a proven investment in student health, academic success, staff efficiency, and district safety. We urge you to reconsider the proposed reduction in nursing staff and to include school nurses in discussions about budget solutions that do not compromise student well-being or increase long-term risk. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Questions from board members about this concept? Yes, Ms. Flynn?
One of the things recently that was done was the nurses are starting to conduct hearing assessments. That was previously another person. So in reference to some of those, in terms of like assessments and things like that, would that put more strain on, like, has that been added into the nurse's job description? Like, is there a lot of those happening, not just hearing assessments, or other type of assessments that is getting put on the nurses that is causing more strain, losing an individual? And then curious about the dollar amount given, like, is that just an average that we're using if nurses are on the teacher salary schedule? Where's that figure coming from?
Sure. Dr. Glatch, Mr. Bakke, Mr. Bombach? Line you three up
Mr.
here.
Bombach is checking the dollar figure. Teachers are not or nurses are not on the teacher salary schedule. I believe that's a misnomer, to be honest with you. As far as the duties that you described, there would be fewer of them still conducting those screenings. So it would take more time from the building startup duties, et cetera, at the various campus. So they'd be spread more thin, to put it in layman's terms.
Mr. Bombach, do you have a figure to offer?
Yeah, President Berger. So what goes into the calculation is an average across an FTE. So if you have a half-time nurse, for example, it would still average up to a full FTE to find your equivalent. But in the case, you would take your, on average, the salary compensation is right around $70,000, but then you factor in the benefit costs that go on top of that, that bring that up a little bit higher, close to the $85,000.
Thank you. I had one question related to the liability. I'm assuming, and I hope somebody can lift this up, there, of course, generally speaking, in a school building, you're going to have a certain amount of those various medical episodes as described, but related specifically to 504 plans and IEPs, there must be some sort of guideline, guardrail about how many school nurses per student population, how many school nurses related to, say, an above average number of 504 medical plans. Can anyone talk through the process? Are we still within those guidelines? What do we use for ratios? How does that look as we, in here I think it says something like adjust the current supports across buildings. Are we able to do that and still limit liability? Because that was one of the speaker's points.
Yeah, so staffing ratios are all determined, as you surmised, by the medical care needs at any given building. And so they shift year over year, and they may be reapportioned as a student moves from elementary to middle school, middle to high school. As medical cares come and go, students move in and out. So it's really highly variable is what I will give as the best answer. We've also tried to fill some gaps by employing what are called unlicensed UAPs, unlicensed assistant professionals who work underneath the auspices of a nurse's license, but there are an awful lot of medical cares that they are not allowed to perform because of liability purposes. So it is a delicate balance to answer the question straight up, and it just depends on the students that we're serving.
Sure. So I'll ask it more directly to whoever wants to answer. Are we confident that with this reduction, we're still able on a year-over-year basis to meet those needs? I don't know who wishes to take that. No one's microphone is turning on. Dr. Lund?
I mean, I can comment that there are some small school districts that don't have a nurse. It's not a uniform thing. All the bigger school districts do. So we live in a litigious society. You can be sued by anybody for anything, anytime. So I don't think you're going to get anybody that's going to tell you that the risk is zero, because it's the society we live in. But there are smaller school districts that don't have school nurses.
Thank you. I think that's fair. Any building level administrators want to speak about this impact, the impact of this concept? Any questions, other further questions from board members? Yes, Dr. Lund?
I just have kind of just a quick statement in general, not about nursing, but about this process. I think the vast majority of us in all of these rooms tonight will probably go home a little nauseated. As has been spoken by several people, this is not an easy process. To put it in a more crude analogy, we've cut the fat off with previous budget cuts all the time, and now we're cutting into meat. We're cutting into programs that none of us want to see. And most of it has been out of our control, in particular state and federal government not meeting their mandates and not, it still baffles me that we can pay professional athletes $20 million a year, yet we don't value the education of our children in pre-K through 12th grade. But that's not a problem that we unfortunately can solve at this table. We've tried really hard, and we've given what I think are increased salaries over the last several years very good. But that's a state and a federal and a society kind of issue. What I am really thankful for tonight is the process that's been used and all the people that have come out tonight and spoke to us, but also the people that have through last August. I mean, and I'm thinking about our central administrators here at MSCC, the administrators in the schools, the staff in the schools that have given feedback. I mean, I'm sure if we ever added it up, it's over 100, there's hundreds of people that have been involved in this process. And I think if you add up the number of hours that those hundreds of people, it's thousands of hours that our educational experts have been working on this process. Is everybody going to be happy with the results? Obviously not. None of us will. But I really want to thank the people in this room, in the other rooms, and the people that aren't here listening that have worked in this process, because it's been lots of hours, lots of time, and I really appreciate that, because let's face it, we're not the 9 educational experts in the world. They are, and I appreciate all the information that we've gotten, and thank you for all of that.
Thank you. Before we move on from this concept, anything else? Reminder to board members, we have a retreat this Friday morning. It gives us from now until then to process information about these concepts, to engage in further discussion that morning. We'll come back next Tuesday for more discussion. A reminder that the action on these items for those in the rooms and for those listening will be scheduled for Monday, February 9th, just so you know where we are in this process. Anything else, board members, that you wish to comment on, ask about, or have clarified before Friday morning's retreat? Mr. Clevin?
Will this presentation be posted on the realignment website?
Go ahead.
Yes.
And just one more reminder, since you asked that question, Mr. Clevin, that we're talking about gfschools.org. And of course, you can do the / and type in the words, but to go to gfschools.org, the 4th tab on the top would be the budget realignment process. Other questions, Ms. Flynn? No? Yes? Okay. Ms. Flynn.
Reduce a section for at-risk students at the high school level. What does that mean?
That is directly related to the School Within a School program. There would be fewer sections offered of that intervention support service for students.
Okay. Is that more behavioral?
Yes and yes, behavioral
Okay.
and academic. There's an A and a B program.
Okay. And then reduce elbow funding, utilize alternative funding sources. What is that?
Yeah, so thank you, Board Member Flynn. So that would be, we would be looking at other opportunities to fund that through grant dollars, but also through some of our supply dollars. Currently, right now, ELBA is funded as a standalone and is not included as in their supply budgets when it comes to library and supply budgets. And so we'd be looking at either a combination of that or looking at other grant opportunities.
Okay. Eliminate interventions classroom teacher. This one specifically, North Dakota studies will need to be taught by another teacher. Discontinue reading and math interventions.
Those are positions specifically at Schrader Middle School, the reading interventionist, and South Middle School, the math interventionist position. Both of those individuals currently serving in those capacities teach additional courses. At Schrader, the courses are North Dakota Studies. At South, they are some of the elective courses that students might engage in.
So just to clarify, North Dakota Studies will need to be taught by another teacher because it's required, but it would need to be taught by another teacher because we're recommending these positions.
Correct. So what has happened in the past is that I think you're familiar with the team concept. So the 8th grade social studies teachers, instead of teaching 5 sections of 8th grade social studies, they then teach 4, so their class sizes go up, and then they have to teach a section of North Dakota Studies on the opposite team. So their class sizes are driven up, and they're teaching more than one prep is how we've managed that in the past. Just so you know, those intervention positions are in place because Schrader and South don't have access to title intervention dollars to help support students at a Tier 2 level in the MTSS process.
How does that conflict with our Be Legendary goals?
Yes.
Again, I know we're trimming the meat, but I would not be in favor of cutting anything related to math or reading intervention, because every single time someone has come up to this microphone and celebrated success, and I've asked the question, if you had a wish list, what would you have? Probably 8 out of 10 of those said a reading interventionist or a math interventionist. And if they didn't have Title I dollars, probably would have been the same, but they had already spoke for a half hour about how great those positions were. So that's not a criticism, that's just I think if we're looking at this or that, I would be completely against cutting any of those. The enrichment, that is under an MSEC support services, low percentage of students served. I know we previously saw a reduction at the elementary level for enrichment, but just curious about that.
Yes, Board Member Flynn, the reason you see that under the MSCC Sports Services is because that falls under the Curriculum and Instruction Department, led by Chief Academic Officer Amy Barch.
Okay. So would there be no enrichment at elementary at all?
The model would be different, so rather than have pull-out services, so right now I believe we serve between 33 and 35 students across all 11 elementary campuses in 5th grade mathematics. So rather than have a person pull students out, we would provide opportunities for our teachers to have access to things like Birdseed TV. So if I'm teaching a unit on perimeter, going to that resource that we can then allow students to engage with that higher level of thinking or enriched activities through that method.
Is it also true that moving to Wit and Wisdom has created some opportunities for the teacher in the classroom to deliver enrichment in terms of different levels of curriculum or familiarity with that program?
Sure. I think that with a curriculum like Wit and Wisdom, it's primarily student-driven, right? So when you have conversations and you're making connections, those conversations tend to have no bounds. So you have the ability to have deeper conversations than maybe a curriculum that was like the past.
Okay. Then I just have one more, or two more. Reduction in instructional coaching staff. That's 0.5. So again, as we talk about this or that, and we have a forced choice. If I'm looking at math reading interventionists as a 2 and instructional coaching staff as a 0.5, can you talk about what that role does, what it provides? It says it does not impact direct student services. So just curious on that.
So the transparent answer is that there was a lot of discussion around instructional coaches and the value that they add. I think not everybody in the public understands the services that they provide that directly, or that have a ripple effect into student learning. So I'll start there. This position really came down to not having many options or many cards to play from the building. It's coming out of community high school. Community high school has a small staff. We've been tasked, and I tasked all of the principals, as did Mr. Bakke, to reach some targets, for lack of a better word, so that we were spreading across the system the recommendations for efficiencies. And so this came from a recommendation from community high school. It's, I want to say, perhaps one of the only positions, if not the only position, that does not directly serve students or work with students, but works with the staff, works on the back end, works with the technology, the testing, the assessment, and things of that nature. So there really weren't very many cards to play, for lack of a better word, from that building.
Would that be true with other instructional coaching staff, that they don't interact with students, that, there's different things that they're doing in the back end versus direct student contact?
I'm going to ask Amy to probably respond to that better, since they fall underneath her department. So really, there is more coaching support provided for our instructors. We have you think about your curriculum adoptions, you think about trying to get curriculum delivered with fidelity. That doesn't happen magically. It happens with supports provided to teachers who are learning that curriculum for the first time. That's some of their roles. Some of their role has to do with other facets of professional development, either working with individuals on coaching cycles, working more broadly with the staff on their strategic priorities around literacy and math, the Be Legendary goals. They really have a large menu of duties of support that they provide to the building. I'm going to use steal words, I think, from Kevin Onstead from the past, although he had to leave the meeting tonight. Or maybe it was Travis that said, I would love to be the instructional leader of my building every day if I could, but there are lots of other things that pull principals' times from being an instructional leader. ICs allow for some of that full-time attention to arguably what we're committed to do is to provide high-quality instruction in every classroom. So I said Amy was going to answer, and then I started babbling, so I
Did you want to
Amy
add,
to add to that.
To answer your question, it's both and it depends on the building and then the capacity around the resource. So at the elementary level, a number of our ICs do have some intervention groups. They also do maybe get the intervention group up and running, model it, and then release it to other staff members too. So they are sometimes providing direct instruction, but really if it was a pure instructional coaching model, they would be supporting and walking alongside teachers more than directly serving students. So I suppose you could say it's an indirect support of students, right? If someone helps me get better at my job or use my products more effectively, students benefit.
So that is helpful, and I apologize to the instructional coaches because I don't want to make it sound like this, but I'm trying to wrap my head around the ratio. If that is a support position that has an indirect benefit, and we're recommending to cut other positions that have a direct benefit on students, then wouldn't the ratio mean, for example, we cut 2 interventionist positions, but we still retain the instructional coaching line? Wouldn't it, is there a ratio then to say, well, we're cutting direct contact, and so then there wouldn't be a need for that support for those interventionists or that teacher, so there would be a little bit more on the instructional coach side that's proposed for reduction. Is that accurate, or is, in terms of a ratio, is that not how it works?
Maybe too, it's helpful to understand where the funding comes from. So every secondary instructional coach is paid out of the federal grant Title II. So really, if you reduce the expenditure, it has no effect on the general fund, if that makes sense. Our elementary coaches are paid out of the general fund. However, Century Code requires student performance strategists, 1 for every 400 K through 3 students. So that allocation, unfunded mandate, is 6 FTE for Grand Forks Public Schools, and that wouldn't include a consideration for travel time if we obviously had to spread them over 11 campuses. But that would be the minimum. So I think that's why instructional coaches too were largely not considered, because of the niche allows of expenditures within Title II. Coaching fits there, professional development, support, where other expenditures like an interventionist would not fit into Title II.
Sure. Okay.
Before we go on, I think we had a comment from Mr. Olson. Is that correct? Did you have something?
Can I add something to that, President Berger, before we move on to it relates
relative to this topic? Sure,
yes,
Mr. Bachman.
I would also stress just the importance of what Chief Academic Officer Barch mentioned, in the fact that every building, it looks a bit differently when it comes to instructional coaches. And so when we say that instructional coaches don't maybe have direct services with students, I think that depends on the building. In some of our smaller buildings, I see our instructional coaches work directly with students on a daily basis. And so it just depends on the building, and not saying that at the larger campuses that doesn't happen, but it happens more frequently at the elementary and the smaller buildings. It does happen at the bigger buildings as well, maybe just not as consistently as it could, because they have more staff to support across their buildings. So I just want to make sure to mention that and stress the importance of it looks differently at each building.
Okay, we'll go to Mr. Olson.
I didn't have a comment on any of that, but I was wondering where the retreat is on Friday.
Yeah, that'll come in announcements. The time and location will come during the announcements. Thank you for keeping on top of it. And if I try to adjourn, will you throw something at me? Other questions or comments? Back to Ms. Flynn.
I just had one more. ML paras. We haven't talked about those. We heard a couple months ago how much lack of funding we get, how much of an increase ML students are getting, and I just want to hear about that.
Yeah, overall, this year we've seen a reduction in some of our ML numbers for whatever reason that may be. As a result, what this would really look at is re-looking at our current formula, and we'd engage with our building levels to do that and to make it more as equitable as we can. Ultimately, right now, the way our formula is set up is primarily we have one para for every one teacher that we have. A teacher serves roughly around a 30 student caseload, 30 to 40 sometimes. We've seen a reduction in our ML numbers this year, which falls below our 30 threshold, and in some cases we need to readjust that. We anticipate that this formula may change from more to a 1 to 2, so one para to 2 teachers formula. But again, looking at how do we provide services across our district to make sure that we're providing equitable services. Additionally, it's important to note that we are going to take account the number of where our student need is. So looking at a level 1 student is very different than looking at a level 3. Ivona Todorovic, our current ML coordinator, will be engaged in those conversations moving forward, and we'll be at our board retreat. We'll be a bit late, but she'll be able to be there to help with some of those discussions and conversation as we move forward. So, thank you.
Other questions from board members? Dr. Lund?
It's been a long night, so if this has already been answered, just tell me. My Alzheimer's kicking in. But, you know, we 86% of our budget is people, and we've got a number of FTE positions that we're talking about. Can somebody describe how that happens? I mean, I'm thinking like there are people that are going to be retiring, there are going to be people that are going to be moving, so we don't really know if we're going to have to eliminate positions where people are still in. Could somebody just describe that process a little bit? Because I don't know if we've talked about it publicly at this meeting for the public to hear.
I'll go ahead and take a swing at that. You know, we certainly would like to accomplish the reductions through attrition. That's not always the case, as you know, we experienced a couple of rounds ago. We did ask GFEA leadership and building reps what they thought about us putting out just a questionnaire or a brief survey. Do you plan on returning or not? And we gave them a deadline, and they were supportive of that, and we certainly didn't want to put pressure on anybody. And just because they sent in a communication to our HR director, Griffin Gillespie, didn't mean that was a resignation or a retirement. And we said that would be confidential, and it's still confidential. So me sitting here, I don't even know, how many people responded to that. But at some point, we would need to know if there is a list that's going to help, with some of the chess moves that we would make. So that's piece number one. The second piece, without saying reduction in force, because none of us want to go through that process, is, we do have an exhibit that goes with our policy that we're having legal take a look at, because it was a little bit messy last time, and we want to have Pierce and Dirk take a look at that and give us some feedback in the case that we would need to use that. So between March 1st and the middle of April, that's an important window to remember. But again, it would be our desire not to have to use that process. And if people are multi-certified, and if there's a desire that they would consider moving into another position, so they can continue to work here, continue to pay their mortgage, continue to raise their family, that's what we would like to do. And on the para side, people find their niche, whether it's a library para, ML para, special ed para, program para, inclusion para, whatever it might be. We still have a number of para openings, but not every para, let's say a ML para, desires to work in a program for students with autism. But we would offer that. We would want to make sure we do everything we can to keep people whole as we move into the next school year. Dr. Lund, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I just think some people in the public might be confused, thinking, well, you're going to fire X number of people, but each year, and it varies from year to year, we have people who retire or people whose families move because their spouse takes a job somewhere else and stuff like that, so it's not necessarily that.
I do want to remind, and everything you said is 100% accurate. There are a couple of positions that don't have transferability that are on the list right now, which is even harder.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, Mr. Bakke, and then I'll come to Dr. Hodak.
I would also like to answer Dr. Lund. We also have attrition that happens on a regular basis, and we have those reductions that happen from time to time. Like if we talk about this school year, due to our lack of enrollment, we reduced 3 sections at the elementary level. That's a normal thing we do every single year through attrition, through the process, and we anticipate being able to do that moving into next year as well, too. So,
Dr. Hodak?
First of all, I'd like to really make sure that the school administration understands how I so appreciate what you have been doing, because this is a difficult time, one of the toughest times in education. At the same time, when I went through all of these 52 concepts, I dug into them very deeply. In fact, I have 9 pages for every question that I would be asking to be answered per each line item that we've discussed or will be discussing. The part that I will be looking for most between now and February 2nd is we all value education, from our community to our staff to our employees, all of us sitting around here. We value this. When we are now talking about eliminating, I don't believe that we hired just on a whim. So that there had to have been some value in these positions and programs that we are looking at eliminating, because we have no choice. But I would be seeking, like I said, by that February deadline or whatever, to understand if someone else is going to be picking up those duties, becoming responsible. We mentioned the 3 secretaries versus the 1. I would anticipate or assume that people are being talked to about these added responsibilities or these added duties, because I do believe that an employee that we offer a position to needs to understand exactly if there are new added duties or responsibilities coming, so that they can either agree, reject. Will they be seeking additional salary or time because of these duties, which then impacts what we have just cut? So, I would believe that all administrators have done that and started looking at this. And I wouldn't doubt that with each line item, if I said, who's going to fill in that responsibility? Or are we completely wiping it out? And it's okay to say goodbye to it. That student impact and teacher impact and employee impact is very important to me, that we don't forget to address that, that personnel, that students' issues that might arise from this. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from board members? Anything else from district staff to prep us for Friday morning? We've got a lot to process. We've got a lot to think about. Anything else to lift up? Sure. I know I might steal a little bit of Dr. Hodak's thunder because she's going to review our norms at the end, but I want to commend everyone involved in this process, specifically tonight, but throughout this process. These are hard, difficult conversations. We are better for having them together out in the open and transparently. So to those of you who participated, who listened, who came here to advocate, who provided support for others to do the same, for those listening, it means a lot. We would rather this than apathy, let's say. We care deeply, as Dr. Hodak said, about our schools, more specifically about our students and staff. And so we're thankful for this time. It gives us a lot to think about as we weigh these various decisions and the levers that we're looking to pull. Dr. Brenner, your concluding thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, to answer the question, Brady, Friday morning, 8 o'clock, First Presbyterian Church, where we've been before, 55555, that should be 4 5s, South Washington. We'll be in the great room again, starting at 8 o'clock, and we'll conclude at noon. For board members, if you would take the handouts at your workspace tonight and bring those for Friday, because that will probably be part of the conversation as well. And then finally, I just want to thank all colleagues who are in this room tonight, from our principal group sitting and waiting and responding to questions that perhaps some of us couldn't respond to here at the board table, to our administrative colleagues sitting in the audience, and to everybody who came and participated and shared your voice and your concern. I'm glad this is recorded, because I think this was a democratic discourse at its best. So I just want to thank all of you for your professionalism, for your collegiality, and for engaging with us. We laid this out intentionally and purposefully so that there would be space for people to bring their voices. And we know we have more work to do, and we will begin that work and continue that work on Friday of this week. So thank you, everybody.
All right, let me pull up this agenda one final time, but I believe, even though it's not specifically listed, we should go back to check in on our school board meeting norms. Dr. Hodak, how did we do?
Well, I think the public, as well as we were prepared. We were all on time. I think that we valued and respected each other. I think that there has been very good deliberation and conversation. I believe that we've all been professional. I believe that we didn't have to speak out about norms not being followed, because we did very well. And I think bottom line is we all are advocating on behalf of students, and we are trying to keep the community in mind. But cutting 4.2, 4.5 will be difficult. Thank you. We got an A.
Thank you, Dr. Hodak. We are adjourned.